My girlfriend's real and she's from Russia. Okay, well, I can't use that joke anymore. Damn,
I
Oh,
that's an old joke though.
I sincerely doubt that, but
You never heard of the mail order Russian brides?
no. By the way, I hit live
Saturday Night
stream.
Live from
I
like
mean,
20 years
We're
ago.
live, by
I
the
mean, I
way.
have.
Yeah, we're
Oh
live.
my god.
What's the matter?
What?
I'm sorry. It's just that, like,
Yeah.
this seems to be like a recurring thing that happens, and will probably happen for the rest of time.
Why
One
do
of
you
my
say that?
friends randomly saw my likeness in a video of Thrill Seekers.
Yeah.
Because Thrill Seeker likes to use the VR chat trailer video, and I show up in there 4 times.
So,
So every
That's
time
true.
someone happens to see it, they were always like, "Hey, I saw this." Blah blah blah. I'm like, I know.
hey, I saw this, blah, 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 blah. All right. You guys good to go?
Jesus. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right. I'm going to start this like I start all my videos. Hey, what's going on, everybody? 2 Panda back in action. Talking about something else, Debbie. Something else, a whole hell of a lot of furry drama. Joining me today are my good friends, Arctasia and Maxwell. Now, Arctasia looks like he served a couple of campaigns in fucking, like, Ass Effect. And Maxwell, he looks like he's Santa's little helper. Anyway, that's all I got. So, not staying on ceremony. This is the 4th, I've been told, Dead First Meet. We're bringing it back. So,
Finally.
yeah, it's been like an entire year since we
So,
made. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's been a long time since the last
I've
one of
been
these.
busy, okay? I gotta get up,
Yeah.
and sometimes I need to walk to the other side of the room and push a button or something like that. And Maxwell's been in
I get that.
hibernation, which is ironic because he's not a bear, but that's okay.
Lord of Hybrid. I
Anyway,
have slept for three days.
that just reminds me of like a friend of mine from back in high school. The dude was smart, but he was also a dumbass at the same time. You know what I mean? And one time he stayed up for 3 days, like just for no apparent reason, just had so much to do that he just kept drinking energy drinks and shit like that. I'm surprised his heart didn't give out. And
Right. Jesus.
he told me that like after he slept for 19 hours straight when he finally passed out, and it was like the worst he ever felt. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I could have. I'm wondering why. I can't imagine why. Oh, hey, Kaylin Young. My day was a blur working on that video, but thank you for asking. We were having some viewers, but okay. So, the other thing that made him a dumbass, he graduated high school. We all graduated together, and he left a Pepsi can in his backpack. And so for a whole year, his backpack just sat there after graduation. And for whatever reason, I don't know what possessed him, but he took the can and he started drinking it. And go ahead. What do you think it tasted like?
Go on.
Go ahead.
Probably got alcohol in it now.
I mean,
Sedated and stuff.
okay.
I mean, I always like to go with the safe bet of disappointment.
That's probably more accurate. He spat it out. He told me it tasted like metal, like the resin coating that sort of protects the can from like the acidity of like the soda had eaten away. So now metal was leaching into the drink, and he spat it out, and you could see like bits of metal like floating around in there, and it.
Oh, that's well. At least you'll get your iron for the day.
No, that's aluminum. That shit causes
I was gonna
Alzheimer's.
say
That is not your source of
Oh.
iron.
Mm-mm.
All right. His name is Gary. I always called him Gare Bear, and this is the same dude. He in programming class, for instance, he always tried to brag how he was like a hacker, but it was really because our school didn't have any. We didn't have very good security, right? So he hacked into the administrative like capabilities of everything, and what he did was he wanted to send a message. Like, for instance, imagine Maxwell and I are in high school, and like I'm trying to send Maxwell a message because he's like trying to target one specific like student, and what he tried to say was an army of hackers approaches. It caused the opposite effect. Every other computer terminal in the entire school had that message pop up as a pop-up message, except for the guy he was targeting. And yeah.
Oh my god.
And he got suspended for like 5 days for that. And what was screwier is, well, 3 of those days were snow days, so he only had to like stay out for 2. But he got a lot of shit from the programming teacher after that because it's just like an army of hackers approaches. An army of hackers so advanced they can't cover their tracks and do basic, OPSEC. I mean, I guess that would be like 4chan, like starting like a virtual army coming down here, trying to sew some shit up. Oh, it definitely backfired. Have you heard of Flex Out? No. I've heard of Flex Tape. JonTron loves that shit.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Get yourself some Flex Tape, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I saw somebody go across the lake with a canoe on that shit. It works. No, it doesn't. Okay. So like real speak. I'm gonna wrap up Gary here so that we can get into the meat and potatoes of what we're gonna be talking about here tonight. But like the last thing, like this guy, I could talk for hours about this guy, but like 2 things stand in mind about his dumbassery. He was borrowing his car from like his parents, right? Like his parents gave him a car to allow him to go around and do stuff. And he got pissed off one day. He goes to a church parking lot. He's just doing donuts in this church parking lot, leaving streaks everywhere, big donuts everywhere. He loses control of his car. He slams into the curb, fucks up the car royally. And so now he needs a story, right, to tell his parents about what happened. You do something stupid, you're going to have to tell somebody eventually. So what do you think happened? Go ahead, guess. Maxwell shrugging. Arctacia, what about you? How do you think the parents reacted?
I mean, I want to say in the typical fashion, but I'm guessing that's probably not the case.
Well, the narrative that he pitches when he gets home, he's just like, it was so mysterious. I lost control of the car and I hit the curb and I don't know. It just completely fucked up the car, which I guess technically he's telling the truth, but, minus the detail about how he inadvertently caused this to happen. Right. Yeah, they bought his story. And like what's ironic is like these are the last 2 people you'd ever expect to buy a story like that because his mom was like, with a biker gang when she was growing up. So she's like one of our other friends was actually scared of her. I always thought that she was pretty funny, but she got really pissy with me because I said the F word like as she was coming down the stairs. And then I'm just like, "Oh shit." And like I thought she was going to raise a big stink about it, but she's like, "Wow, that's when I was like in middle school, bro. You don't know how like, how scary she can be." Well, she wasn't that scary. I don't know why my other friend was scared of her. Anyway, the last thing is he starts working. He's working at a warehouse job for Saks Fifth Avenue. He finds something on the work floor, like cologne, and it's like doesn't have a price tag on it. So he pockets it. A week later, he gets called into the office. Yeah. And apparently that was a promotional item that doesn't have a price tag, but it's to be like, packaged with something else. And he got fired for it. Yeah.
Nah, I should just go to work at Amazon because they don't care if they lose.
I guess it depends, but like Saks Fifth Avenue is a little bit more strict, angry about that sort of thing. All right, that's it for Gary. All right, I just wanted to like finish my thought about why Gary is like, of all my friends out there, he is the one dumbass that's
Gary. Ha 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 ha, Gary.
Gare Bear.
Sorry, it just reminds me of was it Fallout or yeah, Fallout where there's an entire vault of
Exactly.
guys that are clones. They're all Garys,
He looks
and their whole
kind of like
language
that.
devolves into just saying Gary.
Yeah.
Gary.
He does look kind of like Gary.
Gary.
All right, guys.
And then like one of them tries to attack you. Gary.
No, guys. Let's pitch in and get him a vault suit. 108 vault suit. And he can be Gary 55.
Yeah, for $400.
No. Be cheaper than that. You make it yourself.
Oh, you mean? Oh, no. Well, yeah.
All right.
That still cracks me up.
So apart from talking about
What's today's docket?
Well, apart from talking about old high school friends that were too dumbass to like really be effectual in the world and everything else like that, we're going to be talking about the most important thing to plague like everybody here, especially us, because you have to face it every day. I have to face it every day. Even Maxwell has to face it every day. Furry drama.
I do.
Yes, you do. Mm-hmm. All right. It's been an entire year. A lot has accumulated. But I'll talk about the most recent fixation that I've had. Okay. So I want to pitch to you all a narrative. And I want you to react to the narrative and give me your thoughts about it. Just remain impartial. I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to say what. But I'm just going to tell you what I've sort of been witnessing. And this started back in November 1st. Well, actually it started a lot earlier, but the public didn't find out until the end of October going into November to today. Okay. So you got a man and you got a woman, and they come together and they love each other very much. But see, one day, like they love each other so much, they get married. And the problem with that is when they get married, now the guy, he wants to start a family, right? He wants to ravish her body under the sheets. He wants to plant his seed in her bean field. Really plow her bean field, right? He's all hopped for that.
Right.
Now the chick, she's not all for that, and that could be for a multitude of different reasons. I mean, maybe he can't get it up. Like maybe he's got difficulty down there below the belt. You don't know. Or my takeaway was, I'm starting to believe that the woman, she didn't completely trust him, right? That could be a possibility. So, for whatever reason, she's not willing to go down that path to conceive a natural-born child. But they do the next best thing. They adopt a kid. Isn't that perfect?
Cool.
All right, so you got the father, you got the mother, and you got the kid. One big, happy, dysfunctional family, right?
Yeah. Basically.
Problem.
Kind of like my family, but go on.
Probably. Oh, no. Okay. One day, the woman, she completely runs out on the marriage. Completely runs out on the family. Runs out on the kid.
Ruh-roh.
And you know what's even worse than that? She runs out on the marriage to be with two popufurs. Another couple. So with their powers combined, they form a threesome. It's beautiful. Polyamory at its finest.
No.
Max, your reaction is basically the entire Furry Fandom's reaction to that whole thing. You're just like, no.
No.
Or maybe Consuelo from Family Guy. No.
That's what I was thinking, actually.
Okay. All right.
The way you said it on Discord, my response on there was still my response now. The Joker eating popcorn and the line, I may be the king of jokes, but I can't even make something that funny.
Yeah, it was... Okay, so I told you all the narrative. What are your reactions to that? Obviously, Maxwell reacted. Artasha, it's your turn. What's your reaction to that whole thing?
So, it's really strange, but it's one of those things where, in retrospect, if there was really some sort of like problem why get so involved with marriage? Why not bring it up, along the way to kind of set these expectations, ahead of time, so that
Yeah.
way there's no surprises or anything like that. And I don't know, I feel like sometimes people just don't always bring everything to the table that they should to kind of like get all this bullshit out of the way so that way you know what you're getting into. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad, just put it out there. And if they love you, if there's an understanding, they'll work with it. Um,
Hmm.
so I feel like they may not have done that as extensively as they could have. Um, so, and if they would have, it might have um, potentially avoided them going down the path of, getting married and stuff like that. And now here they are in this kind of a bind, and then she just, I don't know, I guess she just felt kind of trapped or obligated now, but at the point where it's just like, well, you know, I'm just gonna dip because what else am I gonna do at this point? But yeah, I feel like it's just an unfortunate situation of not getting stuff on the table from the get-go to really kind of figure out what's going on with that. So
All right.
pretty shitty situation regardless.
Oh no, definitely. The fandom, their reaction was mixed, but it was kind of like Maxwell.
Hmm.
It was kind of like, "Hey guys, let's watch the dumpster fire. Break out the popcorn." Like they were in rapt attention of the whole thing, and it's kind of a compelling story, right? But remember how I called it a narrative, and that's very important because an event happens, you can sum up a bunch of facts, plop them down on the table, and just be like, yo, this happened, this happened, this happened. Those are just factual, that's just factual information. A narrative is like a story. It's like from different perspectives on, what the story could be, right? So what I gave you guys is the fandom's understanding of events. But what actually happened is a little bit different. How about I define these people to you guys? You might know them, you might not. Maybe that'll help. All right. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, to Artasha's point, and this is from a comedian, but it does hold true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people like just need to know what they're getting into. And one way the comedian said, he said, just you and your significant other before you get married, just get completely drunk, because then you have no inhibitions. Everything's on the
Oh,
table,
no.
and if it doesn't work out, you'll know. You'll
Maxwell,
know if it doesn't work out.
Do you know how
And you
many...
can always say, you don't hold anything back. It's just
Wasn't that Gabriel
Or
Iglesias
Yep.
that made that
Yep,
shit?
Gabriel
Yeah, I was
Iglesias.
gonna say.
Do you know how many illegitimate child have come out from that? Like, just that whole... like, a whole hell of a ton, okay? We don't need anything more like that, all right, Max?
like me.
Shh. Woo! Spicy. All right. Let's just go ahead and I will just explain to you all, define who these people are, what they're all about. By the way, this was a how do I say this? These were just some good Christian furries. Good Christians, as Safto would like to.
I'm gonna press X to doubt.
No. See, they put it in their profile. Like, one of them has the cross in their profile. That means they're factually Christians, okay? They're not going to lie to the rest of the fandom or the internet, let alone themselves. What kind of a furry would do that, right? No one's just going to lie themselves. What? Yeah? Yes, Max? Do you dare doubt the power of Christ? This is a Christian server. I will have none of this blasphemy from you. Better find you fucking a Bible tonight.
Jesus was a furry.
All right. Oh no! Whenever I hear like Jesus mentioned about furries, what I think about is like it's like breakfast with or coffee with Jesus, and it's like drawn like the 1950s style, and like a dude's just talking to like Jesus. It's like, so wait, Jesus, is it true that like you love everybody? It's like Jesus just like drinking from like a coffee cup. He's like, yes, my son, everyone. And the guy's like, what about furries? And for a panel, like, Jesus is just kind of staring off into space, and eventually he's just like, all right, you got me there. I don't think the power of Christ is quite enough to dispel all the degeneracy that happens here every day. I just don't. But that's okay. You got two Christian furries.
I'm saying that there are Christian furries. But,
Yeah.
You know, it's because Jesus was a furry, and then so furries are naturally accepted.
I'm glad you've developed a sort of coping mechanism for your afflictions and
Not coping.
Okay. The only Christian
prove it.
furry that I know on VR chat is Catholic Cats, and I haven't seen him for a while. He's got his work cut out for him. Preaching the faith. Nah, I kid. All right.
This is an anthropomorphized version of God.
You know, I'm kind of surprised.
Look it up.
You know, like, this is like a podcast designed for like talking about furry drama and stuff. I'm kind of surprised that you're bringing theology into all of this, which is fine. But
it's just logic. It's just logic.
Man, we're bringing all the
'Cause
topics
what's a
into
furry?
this.
It's an animal with human traits. What's a human? It's an animal. But what's God? What's Jesus? Jesus is God, an entity with human attributes. So that logically, Jesus is a furry.
Well, you know, they always say that men are created in God's image. He must have been drunk when he made you. I kid.
He sure was.
All right.
He sure was. Yeah.
All right.
That was one of the failed experiments. It's the platypus.
All right. Regardless, we got two Christian, virtuous, wholesome furries. One works in IT, one works in banking, from what I remember. High fidelity banking. That's going to have a little bit of an ironic twist to it later, but by all accounts, okay, so I can't really say by all accounts. I would consider us to be on the left, right? Like, collectively, we're kind of on the left or like center left, right? Like, you know, I would be considered like a class.
I don't do politics.
That's fine, but like, so you're agnostic when it comes to religion and politics.
Don't know what that means, but
Agnostic means that you don't believe in a higher power.
I guess.
At least,
I believe there's something more intelligent than us.
Well, agnosticism is more of the idea that you're not one to necessarily say what is or is not.
you want evidence
Like
of.
you have no definitive. Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I would say that's about right.
Oh, wow. The
I
chat
do
kind of
believe in
blew
a higher
up.
Power, but
Uh-oh.
I don't really know what it is.
Blaze Gottman is a Christian furry. He's got the power of Christ on his side. I mean, like, okay. Tujo, you started this. Okay, listen. Furries are part animal, part humans. Humans are made in God's image, plus all dogs go to heaven, therefore all furries go to heaven. I'm pretty sure not all furries will go to heaven. I am pretty fucking sure that not all furries are going to go to heaven. But anyway, regardless. So you got this couple, right? And they've obviously come together on the basis that they're both good Christian furries. And one works in IT. He's a pretty innocuous guy. The other, she's the head of a convention, as in she is de facto owner of a convention out in Oklahoma. It's called Peripheral. Nice place. Not really. It caters to all manner of degenerates and people that are considered alt-furries or furry raiders. And the problem that alt-furry and furry raiders pose is that they... Where do I even begin without sounding like this is like they're justified? So the furry raiders' entire existence seems to be built on the premise of pissing people off. Kind of like 4chan, you know, kind of. I only say that because they try to say that they're all for inclusion, you know, peace, prosperity, like, you know, hope for all. But they kind of, like, in order to, like, sort of identify who a furry raider is and isn't, they wear a very auspicious armband, you know, to show everybody, hey, like, I'm a team player, right? I'm part of this faction. Now, the band is red. It's got a white spot on it, and it's got a paw print in the middle. What does that remind you of? Just gonna let you guys.
Oh, I don't know. I think I may have. I'm have to. Hold on. Nah, it couldn't be a swastika. No, that's not
No.
Nazis. No, that can't be it.
It makes me want to start baking some cookies, I'll tell you what. Nah, I kid. All right. I couldn't resist.
Or passing a little gas.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little. Okay, they're led by Fox or Nightfire, and otherwise, I actually talked to him years ago. Like, he seemed like he was out there. He was kind of a space cadet, but, like, I was just kind of curious. I'm like, what does the head of the Furry Raiders, what's he like? And back then, he wasn't that bad, but he would definitely push the envelope, if you know what I mean. Like, for instance, imagine if Max here, he was dressed like Among Us, and he went to a like a gaming convention where everybody there, they hate Among Us. They do not like Among Us. It's kind of like 10 Captain Juices. They're like, fuck Among Us. We hate this game. But Maxwell joins, and just, he wants to kind of, like, go against the grain, right? He just wants to kind of, like, you know, act nice, but by his very presence, people are getting pissed off. That's what the Furry Raiders would kind of do, because people would automatically take a disliking to them, but it's just kind of like, you know, what the fuck? So anyway, what ends up happening is Foxler, I lost contact with him over the years. Granted, like, I wasn't jumping for joy to, like, actually talk to the guy. Not only did he try joining the KKK one day, like, no reason for it, just you know, wanted to call them up and be like, yo, can I join? You know, the Aryan Brotherhood and stuff. He's Filipino, by the way. So, like, his ass ain't gonna get in. Like, they're not even gonna let him in the front door. Except if they could get away with murder, probably. But, yeah, it didn't go well for him. He, you know, they just kind of looked at him and just like, get the fuck out. But he just did it just to do it. He wasn't even like Uncle Ruckus, like just like, you know, giving them the benefit of the doubt. That's not.
That reminds me of my days on SL.
Why do you say that?
Because there was literally multiple groups that would emulate the Nazis and try their best to recreate either Hitler's car and drive around in it. And what they would do is they would use it to attach it to themselves. Yeah, so they would basically relive the Nazi things. And
oh my god!
They would attach the car to themselves and then make an animation so you can't actually de-render it or like, turn it off. And they
oh no! Oh my god! Imagine that happening at like VR chat, like, you know, New Year's Times Square. Like, imagine that happening here.
That's why they stopped doing interviews on SL, because people would just take those cars and stuff and just walk through the entire interview.
Holy shit!
There was one interview they were having with a guy, and they're like, or a guy and a girl, and they were making like dresses and outfits and stuff, and this guy did a particle effect that had penises waving by. Yeah. It was like a snow flurry, but with penis images and stuff.
Okay. Anyway, regardless, without no. It's interesting.
Me of that, you know?
It just brings like some very strong connotations to me about like what kind of like shantytown, crazy town SL can be sometimes. Because like people try to say that VR chat's crazy, but okay. So that all to say, he got convicted of grooming a minor across state lines. I think it was reduced. Like he was like enticement of a child across state lines because they were 14. And he was saying stupid shit online like, yeah, I'm just going to wear my my fursuit because, you know, the kid's not going to be like threatened by this older 20, 30-year-old like, you know, Filipino dude just kind of like in a fursuit, you know. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm just going to go over there. I'm going to meet this 14-year-old, and if things happen from there, you know, no one's any the wiser. Well, district attorney certainly had something to say about that. But, like, for instance, his deets are, like, floating around online. Like, I found his court records and documentation, and I was just kind of like, holy shit, he actually did it. This was back in 2019, going into 2020.
Why?
He's probably got the mind of a child. He's an Asian of chaos, okay? Maybe an Asian of chaos, too. Anyway, No, literally. If you look at his
Keith Leather Joker, Jesus Christ.
all right. Well, anyway,
Sadly, I heard Asian the first time.
I mean, when people ask me about my nationality, I'm just kind of like,
I thought he said Asian chaos. I'm like, damn, we're getting Szechuan chicken opening.
yeah, man. Nah, man, Kung Pao chicken.
Kung Pao this motherfucker.
Listen. Any general that can make chicken taste that good is a true general in my book. So it'll be General Sal's.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, like, okay, so I know his real name. I'm not going to say it here, but you know, he's at the head of this band of misfits, right? People that are basically 4chaners, but they just adopted the furry shtick, and they're out there, out west, predominantly. And like, if you guys are like Christian, you consider yourself Catholic, you consider yourself conservative, I'm not targeting you. I'm only explaining to you the circumstances that we find ourselves in right here, right now. That all to be said. So this all happened, right? Like, that's all happening out in West.
Uh-huh.
Okay, alt furry is distributed all across the United States. It's not necessarily defined to one place, but the furry raiders are unique because, like, predominantly they're all out in, like, you know, around the Colorado, Oklahoma area, typically speaking. They were a problem for Rocky Mountain FurCon, if you remember that. You know, like, specifically, people had a perception where they're like, dude, can we get rid of these fucks? And they thought that the convention was sympathetic towards the raiders. But there was a specific video where Foxler, he goes up to like one of the con chairs of that particular convention, and like the con chair, if I remember correctly, he was like a convicted pedophile. But Foxler did this just to be an ass, but he's like going up in fursuit, and he's like steadily approaching the dude, and it's like, hey, I just want a hug. And the dude basically made it clear. It's like, yo, you touch me, I punch your lights out. And well, the hug happened. And the punching commenced. And, you know, you usually don't bait the bear when the bear makes it clear that they're going to, like, attack you in some way.
Mm-hmm.
You know? There's obviously
Good.
well, you can, but that, like, if you're Mike Tyson and you're going up against, like, an 8-year-old child, they're going to punch you and you're not going to feel it. But if they're, like, an older dude, like an adult, they're just like, you're going to feel that in the morning, to say the least. Anyway.
I'm sorry, anytime we hear someone talk about Mike Tyson, I just remember from whose line where he's like, I'm Mike Tyson, I want to represent Encyclopedia Britannica.
I make you scream like my wife. Oh, I got the heart of a warrior. Oh, no. All right. By the way, off topic, but it will always be Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, not pussy-faced Mr. Dream, okay? It's like, it will always be Iron Mike. Nobody likes vagina placed Mr. Dream. Okay. So we're getting off topic here slightly, so I'm going to get back on the story. One of them, the owner of the convention, owner of Free For All, her name is Peace Wolf. And, you know, for appearances' sake, she's not that unattractive for, like, furry standards. She looks a little bit plain, like a 1960s librarian. Young, but still a librarian.
How peaceful is she?
Do you want the honest
All
truth?
questions go on. Yes.
I'm going to give you a well-thought-out lie. She's as peaceful as the driven snow. Never tread on. Whole. The sanctity of her spirit is truly a sight to behold. She's like a regular Mother Teresa without being bad.
Boom.
All right.
So serene.
Oh, you have no idea.
My emoji for that.
Okay. She was married to Foxglove. And I have to say, like, comparing their pictures, Foxglove, he won big to be with her. Like, he lucked the fuck out, kind of, at the time that they got together. But see, he kind of looks like a butterball now. He's like, honestly, he just needs to hit the gym, you know, tone his abs, you know, maybe then he'll get some bitches on his dick. But that's probably part of the reason why Peace Wolf ran out, because he just kind of, you know, let himself go. And the joke is he hasn't seen his dick in 10 years, you know, all that fat kind of constricted it down. So he's got a breeding and impregnation fetish. So one person was crass enough to just be like, Yes. So like someone was just like, yeah, he's probably not gonna be fulfill that anytime soon until he breaks out the turkey baster, you know.
Damn.
That's pretty fun.
That's
Damn
okay.
it,
Right. Timing out the funnel.
Oh no, not the funnel. That is
Gotta make sure it's the red
awful.
one, too.
Oh
Gotta
Jesus.
make sure it's the red one.
Oh no. Shh. Anyway, all right.
Yeah.
That ought to be said. Okay, so Peace Wolf, I'm having a hard time taking her temperature. I have heard her speak. She seems like if
Janice
what's up?
said take your temperature. I said use the anus. Flawless, works every time.
I'm not gonna get near her for like love or money. I ain't gonna touch her with a 10-foot pole. But anyway, she's her fashion sense. That's the only thing I'm putting into question right now. Like she wears a fedora, and like girls can definitely wear fedoras. Like it'll be a nice like a fashion accessory. But in her case, it's like how that's like a rite of passage for Discord moderators, right? Like yeah, exactly. In her case, she'd be a leg beard. Not a neck beard, a leg beard. Maybe she shaves down there. I don't know. But, yeah. Yeah, okay, all right. I'll keep this back on track. Okay. So, this couple, right? It's like already shaping up to be kind of a dysfunctional couple, kind of, right? Like, the only thing keeping them together is like they're both good Christian furries, and like presumably they have a good home life. The narrative of the child being like involved. How old do you think the child is that they adopted?
I don't even want to.
Maybe I was gonna say in the realm of probably maybe at least 5.
Somewhere
around there, 5.
What about you, Max? You got a guess? See, Artasia takes 5.
12.
You know what's crazy?
Or so.
No, you know what's crazy? If I take like both of your guesses and I put them together, that's her age. 17.
124.
No, 17. And yeah, so that's not really a child, but when this whole debacle started, Foxglove was acting like this was his family. His wife, the child, that even members of his own community were kind of like, wait, what? They got a child? What? Because, they hadn't seen him for a couple months, but a child doesn't just magically appear one day, and they're like, like a certain age.
A year or less, he'll be an adult. So,
exactly. That's the issue.
Whatever.
No, definitely. So what ends up happening?
Furry too.
The kid?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, see, I don't know. See, the crazy thing is, it was friends of both of them that revealed a lot of the information that's known now. Like, just because they were getting pissed off that the fandom was like reacting to all of this in such a crass manner. Because it's like, people, they took that narrative I gave you guys in the beginning, like a runaway mom that just like runs out on the marriage and shit like that. They take that and they run with it. And Foxglove doesn't correct them. He doesn't bother telling people, hey, the kid is almost an adult. He perpetuates this narrative of, hey, my lover is a runaway mom and now I'm a single dad having to take care of this family by the sweat of my brow. He was almost like that Red Dead Redemption character was like, listen, I want my family. I just want my family back. Give me back my family. And like, it doesn't work that way. And he's trying to make himself sound all wholesome and like, real wholesome 100, telling people, hey, I don't want anything bad to happen to my wife. I love her very much. I just want her to come home. I forgive and forget. And, like, when I first saw that, anytime that you see that for the first time, you're going to, like, feel like, oh, he's all wholesome 100. But, like, I've been around too long to sort of buy into that. My cynical side kind of came out. And it's just like, you're just trying to, like, make yourself look better by comparison. Like, you're just trying to, act like you're just this hardworking father trying to make it in the world. That was my take on it. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, gotta agree. Gotta agree.
I mean, if you've been, oh, I'm dying. Okay, there we go. I'm alive again. No, I'm not.
Oh. Okay.
I'm just gonna have to Slav squat this shit. All right. Fucking hell, dude.
The squat.
No, my trackers are retarded. All right. Okay. So that all to say,
Can't use that word.
I grew up with that word, so I'm going to use it. Okay. So, like, going into all of that.
Honestly.
Yeah, seriously. You can't stop me.
Excuse me, I have been diagnosed with retardation. I can use that word.
Maxwell, I will strangle you in your sleep. All right. So,
I mean, that's kind of a turn on, but go ahead.
all right. Anyway,
I get him.
can you, like, we talked about the two that were together, right? Both a Christian furry couple. Fine, whatever. Okay, so can you guess who the popufurs
And then,
that they ran to? Like, as in Peace
oh
Wolf
no.
ran to.
Oh, wait. I haven't been following popufurs, so I wouldn't actually know. The only one I knew about was Telephone, and, well, I don't know what happened. Well, I do know, but that's the only one I know of.
I'll give you a hint. They were on VR chat once upon a time. Not too long ago, in fact, about a year ago.
I don't know. Popufurs are like YouTube stars. I don't really care. Like, I
Yeah,
didn't
it's
even
kinda
know about
safe for me.
Mr. Beast until a couple months ago. But apparently he makes billions and gives away billions. But
Yeah.
like, I never knew about the guy.
Mm-hmm.
But like, he's apparently always on the trending page.
No, that's fair.
And the only way I know about Moist Critical is because I knew him back in when someone did an animated of like his things.
Right. Okay.
But go on.
They're a furry couple, okay? They're one of the few furry couples out there that have truly stood the test of time. Been together for years. They look out for one another. And at a glance, their relationship seems pretty solid, you know? You got the guy and you got the girl. And the girl is a porn artist and the guy is an animator. And they're both pretty good at what they do. The problem is the one... See, Arctasia, he knows who I'm going to be talking about. He just... The groan that I heard, you already know. You know, right?
I think so, yeah. Like, once you mentioned their professions, I'm like,
I made it too easy for you. You just automatically just knew.
yeah.
No, wait. It's not JSON effects, is it?
J-Sona, yes.
No.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
It just
Fuck you.
clicks. I'm just like, okay,
Jesus.
say no more.
Got
Say no
him.
more.
Yeah, okay.
Uh,
See, okay, so let me give you some context. Like,
fucking feeling blue because of that.
I used to be a JSON Effects fanboy until, like, his litany of transgressions kind of, like, you know... Okay, so let's just put a hypothetical situation. There's a dam in the distance, and water cannot rise over that dam, from my perspective. You know,
Okay.
so every time I look at the dam, I'm like admiring the architecture, the structure. I'm like, oh man, it's great. Unfortunately, on the other side of that dam is like a accumulation of shit that is steadily encroaching on the top of that dam. When the shit gets to be too high and goes over the dam that you can visibly see it spill on the ground, it gets a little bit too hard to ignore, right? Like, you can't just...
Yeah.
That's a real shit show right there. But anyway.
Yeah.
That all to say... Where do I even begin? Okay, so, like, I already talked about JSON Effects on a video of mine. How about you guys tell me what you guys know about JSON Effects and Kabir? You know, they're like a tag team couple. They're great. They're fantastic people. No, they're not, but... Go ahead and tell me some things that you've heard along the way.
You want to go first?
I mean, it's been a while. I don't know if I can recall any specific details. I remember just like a general bad impression, but I really cannot. It's been years since I've even like bothered to look in their general direction, so I can't quite. I think there was once the whole thing where she was it her that was of a questionable age when they got together or something like that?
Yeah. I heard a multitude of different
Something
claims
along
about
those
that.
lines.
Yeah, I heard a multitude of
Yeah.
different claims about
I know,
that.
I remember that being a thing, but I think that's about the only thing I can really recall of those two.
All right. Well, how about you, Max? You seem like the spirit had been sucked out of your soul.
Cause like, cause like, I kind of did a slight deep dive on,
Slight.
Jason FX and his little history of just his animating history or his whole, porn and whatever he did. Just literally surface level, nothing like drama or anything like that. I mean, scumbag things. He abused Patreon. It still is abusing Patreon. Promised 3 different games that never came out, but they're still active on Patreon for some reason. So he's literally just still, and they have thousands of followers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one was supposed to come out in 2016, one was supposed to come out in 2018, and they never did. That he stopped working on them, clearly, because there hasn't been a post since then. But there's still 1,000 on each of those. And he's bringing in thousands of dollars each week or month, and it just boggles my mind on how that happens. And I don't understand how are people, like, still paying for something that literally doesn't exist. You know.
You know what that sounds like to me,
Sounds
Max?
like a bit of blind faith to me.
Well, yeah, that too, but
It's
I was just saying it sounds like a bit of blind faith to me. Like,
exactly.
you have too much confidence in someone to deliver or act on something, and despite the screw ups, you're just like, oh, that's understandable, or whatever, or oh, they're just going through a rough patch, or oh, don't worry, they're just taking a break. Everyone deserves a break once in a while.
Artesia, this
fine,
ain't no
everything's
goddamn
fine.
fursuit that's on a queue. This is a fucking game that people want to see
No, but,
released
like,
eventually.
No,
The way
but
that
that's a good point. No, but that's a good point, and I would agree with that. However, the original game back in literally like the 2000s was called Crazy Kobold, and that's like where he was gonna.
I remember
have, like,
this.
the Kobold battle and stuff. It was like going to be a Street Fighter, and that was going to like come out, and it was on Patreon, and nothing has been heard of. And then he's like, let's redo it, and it starts redoing it in 2016. Cool. So, and then it gets like updated. Then he's like, you know what? Let's do something called Bareback Streets with Vor plants.
Vor plants?
Like, we're gonna
What? What?
We're gonna take yes, and the mimic chests that can eat you and stuff. And so he's like, okay, so we're gonna move Crazy Cobalt assets into that, and then go from there. And it's like, okay, so you're done with Crazy Cobalt? No, we're still gonna get funding for that. Wait, what?
Max.
Done with it, right? Yeah.
No.
We're not gonna work on it anymore.
They're going to get
And
the
he did
funding
remake,
from the
quote,
VR
unquote, for
chat
Bareback Streets
devs.
remake.
They're going to get the fucking
that's
funding from the VR chat devs after the whole EAC update, and they're going to make it. You just have to have some faith, man. It's coming. It's right over the board. Like,
Yeah, these things take time. It's homegrown, all natural, organic.
No, but
okay.
he specifically put a
Rub your
post,
crystals
I'm
together.
done with Crazy
You can rub
Cobalt.
your crystal against your balls too if you want. You can sniff it too. God, that's the best part. And, it's a small team, so these things just take time.
what do they spend all the money on?
I'm talking
Ice cream?
about surface level. But that's what I'm saying. And I didn't
It's
go
good
into the
ice cream,
surface
though.
level where, like, he doesn't do gay animations or stuff like that and literally has a whole assortment of them. And I'm like, whatever, I don't care. But the problem, that just gets me. It's like, shouldn't Patreon be like, hey, bro, are you still making this? Because you just made a post saying you're done. And it's like,
I'll put it to
Patreon's
you.
like, still makes us money.
I'll put it to you like this. The way that you described all those games, I didn't forget about them, but the only ones that I really cared about were Bareback Streets and, Amorous. And I guess for a furry dating game, I'll have to say, Amorous, hands down, for as cringy as it can be sometimes, it's probably my favorite furry dating game out there. A lot of people out there, they want to try that, but it's either... It plays more like a visual novel than it does a game, you know? At least in Amorous, you can actually conceivably change the story, even though the TLDR is the ending is either you fuck or you don't. That like for any character that you choose. But that makes sense. What you're describing, all those games that have subscribers, or I should say patrons, that are contributing to that game, it seems more like, you know, a carrot that he's kind of dangling in front of somebody's, like, you know, face. And they're going for it. They're throwing money to try to get closer to this carrot, but they'll never get closer to it because no development's happening on the game. But there's the hope that eventually, after I throw enough money at this paywall, this game will magically come into existence somehow. Kind of like Yandere Dev, except he was kind of an idiot. You know?
But the problem is he's putting posts that he's done and moving on, and then people are like, "Oh, but we can still fund it, right?" It's like, what are you funding? Like,
we're funding the creator of the concept.
We just want to make sure that they can eat and sleep every night comfortably.
Dude, then I'm in the wrong game. I am in the wrong game. I just need to make a furry porn game and throw it on Patreon.
Oh, Patreon
sob story.
Patreon doesn't like pornography things anymore. Like they started going after creators that were.
Since when they?
No,
I've
Jason
seen them popping up
Effects.
more and more.
Jason Effects got attacked for that, or by like Patreon. You know, I don't know what it was, but
Who is doing that now? Actually, I can't remember the name of the service that does the more adult stuff. Actually, it's kind of similar to Patreon, but
well, it used to be Pornhub, but you saw where that went.
Funny, maybe? No, there was one
No.
like I remember there was one a while ago.
I saw it like briefly at one point through one of the projects. I'm like, oh, okay, but yeah,
All
there's
right.
something like that out there for that too.
So, all right, the TLDR about Jason Effects and Kabir is that Kabir does the visual novels, the furry art, the fetish art, and, you know, webcomics. And they're all very good. Like, undeniably, she is a gifted artist, something that she's honed for a long time now. But the reason that people don't really like... Kabir can be kind of bratty sometimes. Like, she says a lot of comments that rub people the wrong way. Like, she's not all about that PC, woke, SJW culture. And it'd be one thing if you're, like, saying, hey, that stuff can kind of get in the way sometimes. But if you're knowingly saying something on a place like Twitter, where you know that a lot of people are going to see that one comment and... like, you're not really doing your best to sort of, like... And, like, again, on one hand, it could be like, why should I? Like, I'm saying what I think. But sometimes, you know, some people, they push the envelope. Uh-oh. Oh! Oh, no! Artasia died. Kabir got him.
That's why you don't talk about people, bro.
See, it's gonna be like that, what's that book? 10 Little Indian Boys, where they go onto the island and there's like a killer that's like killing all the people at this party, and then there were none.
Oh.
Yeah, and then there were none. So, I just kind of had to look in the forest right now to make sure that Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers wasn't out here. Hopefully Artasia comes back, because I'm feeling a little bit threatened. Okay. I'm going to give him a couple minutes. Let's talk about something else until Artasia gets back, if ever. Hopefully he'll bring the popcorn, the KFC, the bucket of fried chicken. You didn't bring it, did you?
The other thing I just wanted to say about is that his whole, like, starting as drawing, Jason Facts, when he started drawing and then into animating, the only reason he did animating is because other people did animating, and he's like, oh, I can do that too. And instead of actually making animations, he just did those stupid
Jigglebone physics.
Yeah, literal. Yeah, that was his animating. And then, you know, Horse comes around and is like, well, Horse, he didn't even care about Torn Fox at that time, but Horse and Torn Fox were like, hey, we can do 3D, check this shit out. And he's like, that's not fair. Fine, I'll make a video game. And it's like, oh, okay.
So
3D models? No.
What you're saying is Jason Effects sees whatever's trending and they'll try to emulate that and just be like jump on the bandwagon of trying to like make it better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't even make new pictures to animate. He just literally used the same pictures he had, and then quote unquote animated them, which I thought was hilarious.
I
And
mean,
then he's like, well, you can make 3D models, and then he's like, nah.
well,
I don't know if you remember Wouse, but Wouse
I do.
was commissioned, I think, to make a 3D model for him.
Yeah.
Or rigged it, something like that. But
Yeah.
that was kind of funny.
He did a bee, he did Kobe, he did Gidget, which is that kobold from that crazy kobold game. And there was a fourth, but no, it was just Sound Effects himself. It was Mewtwo. It was that bee. No, there's like a bunch of different models. In fact, I could probably bring one out now. I'll bring it out later. But other than that, no, like, yay! He's back! But he's behind the camera, so no one can see him. So, okay. Scoot a little bit more over this way, bro. That was a little bit, just a little bit. There you go. So, Arctasia, what was it like on the other side?
Bye.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I just saw darkness and I felt my body unraveling, and
More importantly,
I need to change my underwear.
did you see Chris Chan? Did you see Christian Weston Chandler?
And so many others.
Oh my God, guys. So in that last 5 minutes that Arctasia was gone, he got to experience firsthand a dimensional merge. It was great. No, it wasn't. I'm kidding. All right. Maxwell made a good point while you were gone. And it's something I didn't really think about at the time. Yeah. Well, basically the idea that I've noticed that JSON Effects, he just kind of segues into whatever's popular at the time because he thinks he can do better. And I don't know. The only thing I remember about his jigglebone physics is people that watched his animations and stuff like that, they weren't impressed because they're just like, dude, your animations are all jigglebone. That's it. That's everything. Like, that's nothing special. And JSON Effects would take it personally, but what JSON Effects could do is that he would take a still image, manipulate it, and make it come to life. But the problem is, number one, sometimes he took art that he didn't credit the original artist for. And if it's one thing if you just do it on your own to just do it. It's another when you post it and you act like that's your work from start to finish, but, it's not necessarily. So he starts to get big on that, right? He starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and he's starting to throw raffles. It's like, hey, enter this raffle, and if you win, I'll animate whatever you want me to. So somebody sent something in, and they won. The problem is their request was non-sexual. And I guess, like, JSON Effects said, hey, it has to be sexual, otherwise I'm restarting the raffle again. And it seemed kind of like a bullshit move because I don't think the rules were clearly defined or anything like that. And that should make your life easier, if it's non-sexual. That should, in theory, it would make your life easier. But I guess sex sells, so the fact that it wasn't pornography didn't appeal to JSON Effects, so he's just like, nah, gonna start another one. And so another artist that was completely irrelevant, not even a part of this at all, he found out what happened to the dude that won, that they didn't get their prize, and they were so moved by this, they intervened. They're just like, don't worry about it, buddy. I'm going to animate this for you because mean old green lizard man didn't do it for you. And, gives it to the guy. And, JSON Effects, he gets in, right? He has the gall to be like the first commenter, like on that new animation when he catches wind of what's happened. Well, not the first, but like pretty close to one of the firsts. And he has the gall to just be like, this is a pretty cool animation, but like he's passive aggressive about it. Like there's a lot of sarcasm in his, hollow congratulations. So it's just kind of like, dude, if you won your raffle,
Sounds about right.
Yeah, if you won your raffle, then why didn't you give him his prize? Like that's all this is. That's all this was. All right, that's fine. But let's go ahead and just Kabir. I haven't talked a lot about her because she doesn't really seem like she's that public, at least anymore. She used to be. But she's more like invested in her artwork. I have heard before she got pretty harpy with Bleakley, if you remember that whole incident. I don't want to make this solely about Jason Effects and Kabir, so I'm just going to like TLDR all this. What you mentioned before, the whole him and Kabir. Supposedly they got into contact when Kabir was only 13 years old. Like, that's their first online activity together. And these are claims, not substantiated beyond, like, speculation. Because if somebody that's in their 20s is willing to fly out to Canada to be with somebody that's now 16, that's going to be a little bit more than just, like a passing fling. Like, you need some sort of, justification to make a very life-changing decision, fly all the way out to Canada. Now, the problem is Kabir lived with an alcoholic for a father and a hoarder for a mother. And I don't know a whole lot about the living situation. I know that it was really shitty and that Kabir complained about it a lot. I don't think there was any room for Jason Effects. So, after a mano-a-mano conversation with the man of the house, Kabir's father, he got to live out back. It was colloquially referred to as the Cuck Shack. Cuck Shack, the Cuck Shack, and the Cuck... Oh, and you know what's even worse than that? As like an ode of remembrance... Yeah, as an ode of remembrance to those days, he started a podcast later called The Cuck Shack that he would animate and have guest stars on. Like Zosh draws a lot of cub art, like young art, like a lot of bottomless kids that are furries.
Now. We all know cub art is illegal, but it's okay if Jason Effects.
Well, he had the artist on his podcast to talk about the state of affairs in the furry fandom. It just seemed to rub people the wrong way. It's like, and what's weird about Zosh is he's kind of like a chameleon, right? He'll draw cub art and stuff like that. Like, for instance, the more recent thing that I saw was it was a Halloween picture where you had like a family out on the town and two kids, like the point of view is like you're opening the door for these two kids that are coming to you for candy. The problem is the kids don't have any underwear, no underpants, no nothing, just, it's all just dangling down there. And the adults in the background have the same thing going on. And his justification was, oh, it's like, bottomless Wednesday or whatever. It's just like what this neighborhood does, bottomless. It's okay. It's fine, really. And obviously, that created a little bit of a Twitter shitstorm. People got angry with Zosh. Then they forgot how he even existed. And then he becomes relevant again. He keeps going through these endless cycles of, like, people find out he draws cub. They get angry. They try to cancel him. And he becomes irrelevant for a while. Then he becomes relevant again, and people try to cancel him again. And then people already forgot from last time what he was doing. Anyway. It's just an example of somebody that Jason Effects had on the show, from what I remember. But no, like people, the TLDR about Jason Effects is that he seems to have narcissistic personality disorder. He does a lot of things that aren't very good. And Jason Effects nowadays, he's kind of cleaned up his act as far as like public, but he stepped on a lot of people to get to where he is today. Like he fucked over a lot of people that maybe they weren't the best of people, but he didn't either pay them or he didn't really appreciate their contributions to whatever project he was working on at the time. That's why whenever you enter an agreement with somebody where money is exchanged, always default to a contract, okay? Because a contract will actually dictate the understanding between both parties instead of just, hey Max, I want you to build like a part of my house and I'm going to buy the materials, but you're going to have to build this to these specifications and I will pay you on this rate. And like, for instance, Maxwell's not just going to be like, okay, and just start doing it. We're going to like review the paperwork together, sign our names at the bottom and be like, and if one of us is in breach of contract, then, the thing gets called off. Either I refuse to pay Maxwell or Maxwell refuses to work for me, But no, like, the biggest, like, Twitter shitstorms I've seen were people that allege, like, I put 1,300 hours on this project that didn't even get off the ground, and he won't pay me for that. So, those projects that you mentioned, when somebody worth their grain of salt can be a part of the project and put their time in, effort into that, and really bring it home, and they get paid for it, that's when you're going to start to see things like Crazy Kobold and, all the other projects. Bareback Streets have kind of made a comeback, but as far as today, he had friendship with Peace Wolf, as in they met at Free For All, and Free For All, if you don't know, it was that FashCon taking place out in Oklahoma where, Fox or Nightfire was there, Zooptune was there. He's basically a conservative hippie. How that works, I don't know. But none of the furry fandom likes him. You had Crusader Cat. You had, Magnus, who wore the Confederate fursuit historically. I'm trying to remember who. You got that candy corn guy. And, not as many people like candy corns, Do any of these people sound familiar to you guys? Because you're giving me a blank stare. Okay.
I mean, I'm familiar with the Confederate one for sure.
Oh, he's a great fella. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Testing. My left controller almost wigged out. Okay. These people, right? They are all over in Free For All. Now, how many people do you think attended this Confederate fursuit convention? It wasn't Confederate fursuit convention. It was it was perceived as a FashCon, fascists, Nazis, alt furries, furry raiders. How many people do you think attended? Just a wild guess.
Not sure.
200.
300.
Artasia was closer. I would say that more realistically, it was probably closer to 75 people, but they want to say that the attendance was 200 people, which I call bullshit on. There's no fucking way. Because you struggle to see more than 5 to 10 people per room, except for the fursuit parade and what's that room, the ballroom, the attendance room? The dance floor was fucking dead the whole time. Nobody was having a good time on the dance floor.
Dealers then?
No. They only had 2 vendors, I think. They didn't have much. Well, what kind of vendor is going to come out there if they know that, the convention is going to be so fucking unpopular that the entire furry fandom is dogging on it? And on one hand, I'm just kind of okay, that's kind of bullshit, right? You're just trying by the sweat of your brow to bring this convention that you've put your heart, money, and soul into off the ground, and the entire furry fandom is trying to stamp it down. But at the same time, you had people like Candy Lupine that were starting their own little unofficial free-for-all servers, and saying that they were going to commit a mass genocide or a holocaust against trans people. Dude literally came out and was just hey, the human race needs a culling. Let's start with trannies. That's what he said. And it's just, yeah, he just comes out and says that. And I don't know why he hates about trans people so much. He's got a hate boner for anybody transgender out there. Now, the funny thing about Candy Lupine is that he slung death threats at his own governor of his state and Kamala Harris, the vice president of the United States. And this is over abortion. He was at an abortion protest. So his ass is going to be sitting in jail for a long time now, I would imagine. His bail was set at 30,000 people. $30,000. 30,000 people. Hey, Max, in order to get Artasia out of jail, we need 30,000 people to actually show up to the jail. So you better get...
Alright, I'll go get the lotion.
You'll go with the lotion. Oh my god, that's terrible. Alright. So...
Not wrong.
No. Alright. So needless to say, the convention is going to be controversial. Because you got people wearing that armband, you got this, that, and the other. Their ball pit made DashCon's ball pit look like the fucking Ritz, I'll tell you what. It was tiny. It's what you put preschoolers in. That just brought a very negative image. Okay, for those of you out there that might be living out in the Midwest territory, the perception that some people and I got was that Western furries or Midwestern furries, they're kind of weird. That's where the connotations in your mind is that's where all the zoophiles are, and that's where all the pedophiles are. They exist out here on the East Coast, sure, but I'm talking about it's kind of wild bandit country out there. You don't know what's going on with the furry fandom. So anyway, that's where they had the opportunity to meet, and clearly Peace Wolf made an impression on JSONFX and Kabir. However, my sort of extrapolation of it is that JSONFX and Kabir are only respecting Peace Wolf because she's at the head of the whole thing, you know? She is the owner of the convention. She's like the queen bee. They respect authority, they respect power, and is an avenue because Kabir and JSONFX, they're both conservative by, you know, furry standards. But I don't know if the friendship is really a friendship predicated on, like, really being friends. It'd be like if I was only friends with Maxwell purely because I felt like, hey, I make films here, so he's going to be a great special effects guy. And, like, on that basis alone, and I'm just pretending to be his friend because, you know, like, that's the feeling I got out of JSONFX Kabir. They're only really friends and interested in Peace Wolf because she's at the head of the whole thing, right? I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah?
probably not wrong, to be honest.
It's a feeling. It could be wrong. Maybe they're having a good time because, you know, the pictures online, you see them hanging out, they're having a good time. But they forged a friendship, right? They met at Free For All, and from there, JSONFX Kabir have occasion to go to the house. The problem is the friendship starts to turn into a way where it's like a little bit more than a friendship. Just a little bit. Just a tad.
Go on.
Well, you remember how I was saying all about the cuck shack? There is a cuck in this situation, but it's not the shack itself. Okay. How about this? I will tell you guys how Peace Wolf left the marriage, all right? Because I already told you all the key players. There's only 4 of them. Peace Wolf, Foxglove, JSONFX, Kabir. Peace Wolf has been spending an inordinate amount of time with JSONFX Kabir. The story goes that Foxglove, he cheated on her. The infidelity was too much for her to bear, so one day, Peace Wolf decided that she was going to leave. Now, she didn't leave in the conventional way. There was no hi-bye, kiss my ass, nothing, divorce papers on the kitchen table, nothing like that. There was a whiteboard.
Fair enough.
2 pictures on that whiteboard. Yeah. Because, you know, if hypothetically speaking, if Artasia and I were in a marriage, like, and I decided to run out on him, I'm going to leave you a whiteboard image. I'll spend, like, night and day on that. I will make it like the Sistine Chapel. Yeah. You missed a spot. No, I will make it, like, beautiful, like the Sistine Chapel. All right. So there's 2 images, and what's interesting is, like, Foxglove's the originator of the image. Granted, it's inside of his fucking house, so he would have to be, unless somebody snuck in or something like that. But, image 1. JSONFX and Kabir are all crowding around Peace Wolf, and, you know, she's all blushing and bashful. She doesn't know if she's really going for this or not, but, you know, the implications are pretty strong, right? Like, both JSONFX and Kabir want to fuck her. Oh, and it gets even better. So, guess what was in the lower right-hand corner of that picture?
A penis.
Nope. 10 scratch
That
marks.
dragon dildo.
10 scratch marks.
Wait,
Tally
what?
marks. Yep. And at the lower right-hand corner of that, there's this.
Oh.
So that would mean that Peace Wolf fucked JSONFX Kabir 10 times that she's willing to admit to over the course of them hanging out and having a good time and stuff like that. That's the implication. That's the, like, you know, that's the hint. That's the euphemism in, like, a picture and the tally marks and, you know, the teardrops. Now, the picture underneath that is a wolf walking away from the viewer, just walking into the horizon. And people try to say that that's her under the influence of LSD because, like, you see the sun and it's, like, radiating really colorful lines. Like, it's almost like a psychedelic effect. And there's, like, a Canadian flag off to the side, which shows that she's walking towards the border. And then, like, towards the bottom, there's, like, a broken collar and chain at the bottom of that. And it's implying that, hey, you have shackled me for far too long. I'm breaking my shackles and I'm going somewhere I want to go. Now, here's where it gets kind of dark. So, obviously, Foxglove sees this and he's trying to call, peace. I'm speculating here, but based on what I know, he tries to call her. She's not picking up. He tries to reach out to her over Discord or social media. She's not responding to him. So in a blind panic, he is just freaking the fuck out, and he tries to reach over and to friends, anybody that will are willing to help him out in his time of need. And so what ends up happening is just he alluded to the fact that if he doesn't get help, he's either I might kill myself or something. He's borderline suicidal. In two things here. Mm-hmm. It could be him just acting to play it up to raise the urgency for his friend to rush over to the house to help him out. Or he could really be suffering from high anxiety and this, that, and the other. We don't know. But what I will say is, yeah, people were expressing doubts about the whole thing. And it's just they go over there to just help him out. But here's the thing. I already told you that Foxglove, he tries to sell, we had fights before, we got into it with each other, but we always forgave and forget. And it's just your wife certainly didn't forget, because she's divorcing your ass. There's got to be something that you're guilty of. Excuse me. So what's your reaction to all this? Wife runs out on the husband, whiteboard. That's her method of telling him that she's leaving. Nothing after that.
I mean, I just think I don't know. It's.
I don't know.
I mean, I'll give you points for creativity, I guess.
Yeah, that's nothing that a normal, well-adjusted adult would do in the real world.
Yeah, so. But that's about it. I get it. It could be hard to kind of break that sort of news to, but at the same time, I don't know. That's just, it's not a great way to do it. I mean, on the other hand, I suppose at least she did it.
At least,
just be bye. Nothing.
Oh my god, bye. Just bye. I'm out. Peace, motherfucker.
Bye-bye, have a good time. Have a great time.
That same guy pops out from the window and he's just telling her to
bye-bye, have a great time.
Jesus Christ. Okay. So that's what happened. And, I already told you that the narrative that Foxglove tried to pitch to the rest of the furry fandom is it's my family. I love my family very much. But when you think of family, you think of a prepubescent child and two adults to take care of said child. You don't think of, hey, guy who's in his 20s hooked up with another girl in her 20s with a 17-year-old. Jason Effect's the ones that dropped the bombshell. And if you're wondering how, it's because people were so wrapped up in this narrative, right? They wanted to give Peace Wolf a piece of their mind, and Peace Wolf wasn't responding, but she left a couple of hints down the way. For instance, there was a picture of her biting on a chain and saying, I was young, I was, I thought that this relationship was going to be everything I thought it was going to be, but it wasn't, and I didn't recognize true narcissism. And I just kind of read that, and I'm like, because it's you didn't recognize good, true narcissism because you're with Foxglove, but your alternative is to run to Jason Effects Kabir. So, and he's narcissism squared. So Foxglove must be Skeletor in this situation, as far as narcissism goes. That's the implication that she was trying to make. She was trying to be he was, he was abusive. He you restrained me, and I couldn't do anything, and blah 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 blah. And some of the friends close to both of them are just kind of expressing reasonable doubt because it's just like, okay, if Foxglove was as bad as you say he is, this is before they found out that the kid isn't really a kid; it's going to be an adult in like 2 months. They're like, if Foxglove is as abusive and narcissistic and evil as you say he is, why would you leave a kid with him? And that does bother me a little bit, that this 17-year-old is just living with this guy that's got, like, a family fetish. Like, he wants a family.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole... Go ahead.
Like, that's just weird. I was going to say something, but I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh. It reminds me of that one meme, where you have, like, I have a wife, she loves me, she supports me, with money, and always there for me. But I think this girl looks better.
Wow!
Completely unstable, off her meds, completely... But she's got that standing in social media, so... Why?
That just reminds me of, like, the anime joke, where it's like, bye, cardboard wife! And, like, the wife just falls over, because she's flat.
Bye, cardboard wife. I like that.
I think that kind of reminded me of this, there was this tweet, and that really confirmed the source of it, if it was real or not, but honestly, it just seemed so on par with typical furry, like, shallowness, that's just like, you know what, I probably would. I don't remember verbatim what it was, but it was basically like a listing of someone looking for a roommate, and basically the person had to be like, have a cute fursuit, had to have at least 4,000 followers or something like that.
What?
Would be willing to compromise if they still looked cute out of suit or whatever.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Who is this, the furry equivalent of Chris Chan? Chris Chan had...
I don't know.
Like, Chris Chan had, like, an attraction sign, and he had, like, very standards of what he was looking for in a girl. Has to be white, no medium to dark chocolate, please. He literally wrote shit like that. Has to have, like, a high income, has to drive a car, can't be mentally retarded. Yes. Even though he himself was high-functioning autistic.
Yeah. No, but that's crazy, because a lot of people are like, I want a boyfriend or girlfriend that's literally the opposite of me. I don't want anything else.
Okay, then just contract the science company to fucking clone your ass so you can basically date yourself. Well, that would be an interesting experiment.
Dude, that's what I want to do. If I could do that, I would.
That would be an interesting experiment. It's like, you know what I would love? It's like, this is how insufferable you are. Not even the opposite of you, the clone of you would date you. It would be like a true test of time.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, anyway, whatever. All right. So...
that just reminds me of Family Guy where Brian gets a robot version of himself.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
I can't stand you. But I'm you, Brian. I'm 100% you. Jesus. That's what I sound like?
Yep.
Yes, Brian. I learned from you.
Jesus. All right.
I would never want to write a memoir about myself. Mission complete. Shutting down.
That reminds me of, like, artificial intelligence. There's an app I want to review that it's literally you talking to an AI, and the AI is supposed to pick up on what you like and don't like so that they become your pocket friend. And I only downloaded it for the novelty factor. Yeah.
Pocket friend.
I'm just like, are you that
like the name.
Are you that lonely and, like, socially maladjusted that you can't, like, develop friendships with real people? You gotta be talking to your phone.
Tamagotchi. I always had a pocket friend. My Tamagotchi.
And I had a Pikachu equivalent of Tamagotchi, but that thing died. It did not live very long. Okay. We're getting off topic here, but so obviously the fandom, what's crazy is that the fandom for like at least half of a month, maybe even 2/3 of a month, they are subsumed by the original, like, narrative. And it's a very strong, compelling narrative. The problem is Foxglove, you have a situation where you have two shitty people, because Peace Wolf, she's not completely innocent in all this, but I sympathize with her more because all she did was run out. She did it in a very irresponsible way, but we don't know how she was feeling. Like, you know, and like the TLDRs, this is none of our business, right? Like their divorce isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But they made it our business because they made it public. Like, we're not the ones that pried into their life. They just, you know, there's that old saying, you don't air
They
your...
handed out postcards. Here you go. Here you go. We're getting divorced.
Brochure,
Oh my God.
There you go.
Maxwell, you're just giving me ideas for a short. But,
Or a pamphlet.
I mean, you know,
Like,
there was a guy that, like, what was it? All right. This is off topic, but in order to get divorced from somebody back in the 1800s, he literally fucked a prostitute and had her testify against him in court to get the divorce that he wanted from his wife, because his wife was that religious and, like, you know, believed wholeheartedly.
Yeah, but do you know why?
Go ahead.
Legit, because back in those days, both parties had to agree.
Exactly.
To divorce.
Yeah. All right.
Which is why nowadays, in most divorces, women have the longer end of the stick. Because it was very prevalent back then for them to get abused and not be able to get out of the situation, unfortunately.
No, that makes sense. I mean, look at what Peace Wolf did. She just ran out. She's like Audi 9000. She's not coming back. So, more of the furry fandom is getting
Who
involved.
gets the kid? Sorry.
Well, funny that you mentioned that. The kid's not even going to be a factor in the divorce because they're like there wasn't even really like a true adoption. The kid was so close to being an adult that they were just like, you know, so Foxglove and Peace Wolf would be considered glorified like guardians of this kid. You know, they're obviously a minor, but it's like foster care sort of. It's not like an official, hey, I consider you my son.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Gotcha.
so
It was like a foster child thing.
Yeah, so it's just like not even going to be a factor in the divorce. And what's crazy is Peace Wolf's the one that's kind of been ignoring most outside external like conversations, because she would say shit like, I'm getting Pokemon this because I am loyal to a fault. And people would just like ding her and just be like, clearly I'm not loyal to your fucking husband. Or like, you know, she said something where it's like, I think that people are having too many pets right now. They need to start like accepting and, you know, like bringing kids in the world because that's going to change the world to be a better place. And
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Can you imagine that?
Well, I would have to show
Oh
you
my
the tweets
God.
later, but she said some things that were
my
strangely like contradictive to what happened later, but you'll see what I mean. Anyway, someone's just like, well,
That's a whole new level of stupid, dude. That's
I mean, I get it,
it's like.
but you don't just have kids for the sake of having kids. You need to be financially independent. You like, I would say more importantly than that, you need a partner that is going to be with you in the long haul. That's probably why Peace Wolf never allowed fucking Foxglove to like impregnate her, because well, I'm starting to wonder if Foxglove could even really get it up. I mean let's be honest, his blood type must be pudding by now. Something close to that.
Whoa.
No, the kid. All right.
I mean, I like pudding.
I don't think I'd want it in my bloodstream.
We had our
definitely
pudding
not.
break.
I usually have butterscotch pudding on my ass. That's a win. tonight.
Butterscotch pudding on your ass. Go ahead.
No, I mean, okay. I didn't know that's how you spent your Wednesdays, but good to know.
No judgment.
I didn't either,
Yeah.
honestly.
All right, guys.
I prefer vanilla, but you know, that's okay.
I was hoping to get through this story at least, so I guess I'll push it along. And you know,
How long have you been talking?
let me go check.
Does anyone know? I have no clue. I mean, I've been on VR for 3 hours, but that's not a time.
1 hour and 30 minutes. So, feels all right. But anyway, let's go. I at least want to get through this story. There was a guy out there, right? He's called Real Fake Writer. And he's one of those other Christian furries, really like hopped up on the Word of God. But he was so moved by this entire story that, and like, in spite of the fact that he had no experience being a marriage counselor, it was up to him. He was going to go out there and he was going to ask the hard questions and bring Peace Wolf home. Through the power of God, he was going to convince her to stop being a seditious harlot and to cease her lecherous ways and come back into Foxglove's home.
Did the power of Christ compel you?
It certainly compelled him. But Jason Effects shut that shit down pretty fucking fast. See, the problem is Peace Wolf wasn't really responding to too many people at the time, and so when people couldn't reach Peace Wolf, then they would just go to like default to Jason Effects and just be like blah 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 blah. And you know, Jason Effects, he's the one that sort of revealed a lot of information that people didn't know at the time. Like, for instance, the fact that the kid was 17 years of age, pretty close to adulthood, this, that, and the other, and that the divorce papers were in progress. Like they were just about to get out the door.
Oh.
Also, the worst thing about that, this is a theory. Like I already released the video prior to this podcast and all that stuff, but this is just a theory. This is just a theory.
A game theory.
No, I was gonna make a Jordan Peterson joke where it's just like, you know, it's a theory that I've been working on at the University of Canada. That, you know, autism is really just an exposure to the testosterone in the womb. So you can deduce from that autism is hypermasculinity. I'm joking. Jason Effects and Jason Effects really likes Jordan Peterson. And I noticed that Peace Wolf started to adopt a lot of things that Jason Effects likes, which is concerning to me because
Fair
that
enough.
yeah. All right. So to push this along, the crazy fake writer dude, it's weird, right? Because he's convinced that it's his mission here on Earth to bring Peace Wolf home. Like, he's gonna do it, right? Now, let's look at the objective fact here. This guy has no relation to Peace Wolf or Jason Effects in any tangential way. He's not like a friend of theirs. He's not like he's not a neighbor. He doesn't even live in the same state. But he's so moved by the narrative and Christian values that he's going to inject himself or attempt to inject himself into the situation. And that's what a lot of furries seem like they were doing, you know? Like, for instance, let's say that hypothetically you guys are arguing right now, and for whatever reason I decide to get involved. I don't have to. I could just watch, kind of listen to both sides. What are you guys arguing about? Like, maybe settle down. I don't have to get involved. That usually just makes things worse, right? But so many furries felt compelled about this to get involved. And, like, you know, slinging Bible verses at her and this, that, and the other. Oh, the theory that I was going to reveal to you all. I'm kind of wondering if there was a hint, right? Some experimentation was agreed to in one of Foxglove's messages that he was sharing on Discord. I'm wondering if he consensually allowed Jason Effects and Kabir to fuck Peace Wolf. Like, you know. Because, you know, maybe Peace Wolf's curious. She's like, I never got to enjoy a threesome before. So, because he dropped some hints that some hanky-panky bullshit, he knew that some hanky-panky bullshit was happening. Something. But, like, you know, when he wasn't a part of it, he got angry. That's why, you know, he started this whole thing. So I'm wondering if he was a literal cuck. Foxglove, I mean. As for Jason Effects, well, he's like a gigolo. They call him Jiggle Lizard. You know, he'll fuck anything with 2 legs. Possibly 4, if his bestiality comment's anything to go off of. He said he doesn't give a shit about bestiality, and that if people want to do that, that's their business. Which tells me that, at the very least, he is completely just, like, you know, apathetic towards, like, the plight of animals in that situation, which is atrocious. Like, that's bad. Okay? And, like, okay, so 16, he's 20, when he and Kabir first physically met. But him being in contact when she was 13, that's got to be kind of grooming, right? That's groomer-ish. That's and it wasn't illegal in his particular province in Canada, but still, that doesn't sound good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They themselves are in their 20s, right? But like at the time, ooh. So that's why a whole lot of furries don't like Jason effects for whatever reason. All right.
Well, it's a laundry list of reasons, honestly.
I mean, go ahead. Like, okay, so everything that we've talked about so far, what is your visceral reaction before I even continue? Like, what is this playing out like? Really? You guys had some solid zingers before. I feel like I'm doing all the talking here. I don't want to rob you of your thunder.
It's fine, but like I don't think it's really like. I don't think there's really anything more I can add to it right now based on this. Like, my early impressions, I think, still stand pretty strong.
Oh no, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Max?
But
yeah, same. I really don't have any different, like, feeling or anything.
All right.
People be crazy.
Oh, definitely. Okay, so I'd like to mention Free For All now, because I told you a lot about the personal lives of Peace Wolf, Jason Effects, Kabir, and, to a lesser degree, Foxglove and the kid, real or imagined. I say imagined only insofar as he tried to pass her off as being like a little child, where I think they're going to be an adult in 2 months, so anyway. All right, so coinciding with all of this, you got to remember, Peace Wolf is at the head of a convention. She has to answer to a lot of people. She has to manage this convention. She has to make sure that everything is good to go. And on top of that, she's got Foxglove there that's supposed to have her back, right? And like what ends up happening is this got revealed during a meeting. And the irony of the meeting is that everybody there was sworn to secrecy. Like, nobody was to reveal this to the public. Anybody that asks, you see nothing, you know nothing. You're not going to say shit to the general public. Well, they done fucked up on that because the thing's been floating around for a couple weeks on Rumble. And I even downloaded snippets for my video. It's been revealed that Foxglove, Jason Effects and Kabir were named the guests of honor for Free For All 2023. They are convention guests of honor. And that said, Foxglove, towards the end of October, Jason Effects Kabir, it's implied that they've been together for a couple months, just fucking around, sometimes literally, behind Foxglove's back. Foxglove removed them, not because he had a legitimate reason to. He basically abused his position of power in the Discord server to just remove them entirely. And, these are guests of honor. So, that's not something that you do. You're basically abusing your position to, like, make someone else's life a little bit harder. On top of that, he used the convention debit card for non-con related purchases. I speculate that it's a sea salt Dakiamora. That's the mental image I get in my mind of the look on your face was priceless. But anyway, I don't know why he thought he could get away with that. Number one, removing them. Two, like doing this and the other.
right.
Sea salt Dakiamora was one thing, but we actually don't know what he actually purchased with the money. But he was found out. He was forced to. They basically deactivated the card, got refunded, and said, "Yeah, we didn't authorize this purchase for business expenses." But that tells me that, like, he had access to things that he probably shouldn't have. Number one, number two, if he's going to basically embezzle convention funds, then he's not as wholesome, innocent as he likes to try to pass himself off to be. And
Right.
he seems like a guy that's like, he'll just do passive aggressive shit because he thinks he can get away with it, but he won't like risk a confrontation. That's probably how Jason FX Kabir got so close, and probably why Peace Wolf ran away. One of the many reasons. Some people try to claim that the breakup happened over something as little as him sexting somebody, which is shitty. Like, but if I caught my significant other doing that, I would probably give him a stern talking to and just be like, yeah, this right here, this, I know you got that weird fucking, like, fetish, but this right here needs to stop or we're going to have problems. There will be consequences. And, you don't just run out on a marriage of several years for that, something like that, right? We don't know what the actual cheating was, by the way.
Right.
See, Maxwell's thinking, how am I going to get away with sexting this one guy and passing it off as creative writing?
Shut up.
The way that you're like thinking, you're just like, like raising your chakra.
Creative
Yeah,
writing. I like it.
Yeah, it's erotic writing for the purposes of making a fanfic porno that I'll try to sell on Etsy. Literal pages.
Why'd you message this person and start texting them? No. That's my editor.
It's part of the creative
So
process.
I'm sending them my that's my editor, and they send it back, and then it's part of my memoirs, and so as a fox, it's that, and look, it just works itself out in the end. Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
It just works itself out in the end. Oh no! All
I'm
right.
about to feed this fire.
Did you say yeet or eat?
No, neither. Feed.
Oh, feed this fire. It sounded like you're like, I'm about to eat this fire. All right. I'm going to wrap
Quite
up this.
spicy.
We've been talking about this for a while, so I'll try to wrap up this story so we can move on because Oh, I thought you were like typing on your imaginary typewriter.
Smashing my plushie.
There's no real conclusion to all this, right? Like, the conclusion is somebody's
because it's not over yet.
exactly. But all that to say, like, I'm probably forgetting some crucial details I was going to mention, but really, in order to understand this whole mess and why the fandom reacted the way it did, you have to understand that at the end of the day, these are all shitty people. This is not a tale of heroes and villains. This is like a shit show. It's just that the question is slightly less shittier to people, slightly more shittier people. And, like, it was so perfect.
Both.
Well, yes, but for different reasons. But I can tell you all, dear audience, I don't think that, like, fucking Peace Wolf can consider herself a good Christian anymore. Hey, you guys are good Christians. Maybe not. I know for a fact that you're not.
I'm just a fox.
Yeah, you keep saying that. Duly noted, as Artasha would say.
Oh, I'm just a fox.
Yep.
All right. The only reason I mentioned that whole...
Line pause.
Oh, yeah. Well, the whole reason I mentioned that whole three-ring circus is because that was freshest drama that was on my mind for the past several days. And as far as the timeline goes, it's been happening all throughout November, going into December. So, that's my story. And it's not resolved yet, except it will probably end in divorce. But people are already questioning, where's this going to go? Because it's like, this is the thing. According to the artwork, Jason FX Kabir have fully accepted Peace Wolf into their polyamorous relationship. Like, she's appearing in artwork, she's appearing in this, that, and the other. And Artasha, not to poke into your business, do you mind if I mention your state of affairs? Okay. You're in a polyamorous relationship, and I portrayed it as, on paper, all members should feel they should fit their own dynamic, number one. Number two, they love each other very much, and are willing to do stuff, when appropriate. So, that all to be said, some people are just saying that Peace Wolf is just being emotionally and mentally manipulated by, Jason FX to fit a particular mold. Kind of like how he did with Kabir. And, it's like, narcissists are known to do that, right? Like, they collect people. They don't necessarily, hold company with people. They collect people that they can feel that they can change and mold into being allies. One of my favorite tweets was, all right, it's like hypothetically speaking, like what their interactions were like, and it's like Jason Effects trying to give like Peace Wolf like PCP or like LSD, and Peace Wolf's like, oh, I don't know, I'm all hot and bothered. My Christian values are kind of chafing this invitation to, breaking my vows. It's like, oh, come on, baby girl, don't be a cringe. Go ahead and try it. And Kabir starts to say something. She's like, only speak when spoken to, kitten. And the picture at the very bottom is like Peace Wolf's baby in the other room. And you see baby Mario inside of the bubble floating around. His mouth's all huge, like he's yelling for Yoshi's help.
Oh.
Oh man, if only that was reality, which is not, but it's just like
Maybe
so.
It will.
I don't think it's going to be Foxcloud's child. I think it's going to be someone else's child.
Destiny's?
No, I was thinking like, I'm kind of surprised that Jason Effects hasn't fucked Kabir or like and had a child with her yet. But once you have a child, doesn't that kind of mean that your life of being a regular furry is kind of over? Like, yes and no, I guess. But, you're no longer considered young, hip, cool. You now have to live the life of an adult and take care of a baby. And, it's just...
Yeah.
It's not, like, for everybody. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Yeah, definitely.
That's responsibility. That's a commitment. And
It is. It's a huge one that people fuck up pretty regularly, sadly.
well, what's funny about that is Peace Wolf like specifically said a lot of things that went contradictory to what like the narrative was. Like for instance, she ranted about if you can't fucking raise a kid right, don't fucking have kids. And then a whole like debacle happens. Oh, I forgot to tell you all. The problems that this is all generating is Free For All is already a struggling convention. It's not popular because the vast majority of the furry fandom do not like the people that go to Free For All. The only reason that you go to Free For All is if your reputation is so shot, nobody wants you. Like, if you go to MFF, they won't even let you in the front door. You go to, like, FWA, they won't even let you in the front door. Hell, like, any convention out there, they are not letting you in. That's the only reason that you go to Free For All, number one. Number two, you have to be a conservative or a Republican or, like, anti-SJW or a Christian furry to have any sense of appeal. Which, I'm just going to tell you guys right now, like, no offense to anybody in the audience, might be Republican or conservative furry or Christian furry or anything like that. Just looking at the activities that took place at Free For All, boring. Dead dance floor. Like, those people, like, you already saw this. You just got back from MFF. People that you saw go to the dance, they come in two categories. Dancers or people that just kind of, they get really close to the dance floor and then they just stop. They're just like, I'm going to get really close to the edge of the dance floor and then not dance. And that used to bug the shit out. Yes, exactly. That used to bother the shit out of me because it's just like, bro. But see, here's the thing. At Free For All, that was everybody. Like, only one dude I saw busted a move, and that was the candy corn guy that reached out to me on Telegram. And he's a furry raider. He's like a femboy Nazi. That's what he is. See, Maxwell.
That saddens me.
I mean, I guess it's like Bruno Mars if he was wearing, the SS uniform or something like that, but like more twinkish.
Bruh.
Bruno Mars makes some good music. Anyway, I haven't seen What's Under the Hood or the mask. He probably saw Marktasia. I think he went to MFF, but Needless to say, Free For All, it's already a fledgling convention struggling to get off the ground. And now people internally are demanding to have Peace Wolf removed as head of the convention, number one. Number two, remove Jason FX Kabir for breach of something. It's a conflict of interest, is what people are complaining about. They find that Jason FX Kabir have undue influences over Peace Wolf's mind, and that because of that, they're compromising her ability to make rational decisions as leader of a convention. And I literally, I wasn't feeling too well, but I sat through the whole fucking thing, like listening to this meeting play out. And it was kind of boring towards the end, but it revealed some tidbits of information. Like 37 staffers, all board of directors, all swearing an oath of silence. Although it still begs the question, who leaked all the information to Rumble? Because, that's part of the reason why, like, for my film projects, for instance, I don't have a oath of silence or anything. Like, it's just that certain things, you just control the dispensement of information, because the theory is that you can trust the people that you tell. And if you can't, then you're at least limiting how many people can leak that, right? But when you're hosting, like, yeah, with like 37 plus people. I don't know how many people were in there, but their metrics were released. Supposedly they actually did have 200 attendees, supposedly, but I still call bullshit on that, number one. Number two, they're trying to get people to attend next year, and this whole scandal is kind of threatening the existence of the convention, because people are already saying, hey, we don't want to attend this convention anymore because of a pedophile groomer like Jason FX and Kabir. They consider Kabir to be like Stockholm Syndrome girl. Like, she's like the poster child for Stockholm Syndrome. And it's like, and Peace Wolf needs to be removed because she's like, this is clearly a breach of conduct and a like conflict of interest, blah, 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 blah. And I'm reading all this. Kind of want to bust out the popcorn. I love this fandom, man. I love this fandom. And the conclusion that I had at the end of my video is that be happy that you don't associate with these people at all. Like, they're all the way out there in Oklahoma. I'm here in the East Coast. Maxwell's a couple states up from me. And I'm just like, we get to be as far away from the shit show as humanly possible. But through the power of the internet and Twitter at large, we can break out our freaking like telescope and be looking out that way. It's like, is it still dumpster fire? Yep, still dumpster fire. All right. So, what do you guys got to talk about now?
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, there's just never any shortage of wonderment in this fandom. I mean, I've witnessed things since like fucking 1998. That's all I've been in the fandom for. So,
Damn.
of course, I would say the fandom was a lot more tame back then, but you still had your colorful individuals. I mean, that's just gonna happen. But yeah, I don't know. It's just become a lot more superficial, a lot more popular, ironically enough. And yeah, you really get to see some of the faces of humanity from all walks of life when you kind of just even skim the surface of people we have in this fandom alone. But that's what happens when you're a fandom that is willing to accept the dregs of society because they have nowhere else to go.
Artasha, how can you refer to your fellow furs as the dregs of society? That is so demeaning. Nah, it's pretty accurate. Jeez.
Yeah, it is. But, that's not to say that the umbrella term should apply to anybody, because there have been some wonderful people in this fandom that I've met over time. I'm so glad for that.
Really? I don't see any right now.
Me neither.
I'm kidding.
I'm talking about they're probably out there somewhere. They're keeping a safe distance from this lovely patch of earth. Yeah, I don't know. I usually don't keep my ear too low to the ground when it comes to like a lot of the drama that happens in this fandom because I've got my own life to lead, and honestly, that in of itself is enough for to keep me busy that to worry about the affairs of others. But as as luck would have it, you just hear about these things regardless because people talk, and that's really what ultimately allows one to get perception of these sort of things. Anyway, people love to talk about shit like this because, especially the spicier it is, oh, that's gonna really get some ears burning. So,
Well, I say that because I just remember how one of my favorite images was Foxglove, and he's like saying, of Christian values, being a cuckold is, and you see that whiteboard image like of Jason Effects Kabir like wrapping around like Peace Wolf, and it's just like Fox, shut the fuck up. We're gonna take Kabir, we're gonna take Peace Wolf and fuck her now. And
God.
and I think of like shit like this, right? Okay, Arctasia, you started you joined the fandom 1998.
Mhm.
I want to compare that to like now because Sean Keller, I think he was like an animator back in the day. Does that ring up any bells? I think his name's Sean Keller.
Mm,
I don't. It was out. It was before my time, so it's like I only get to watch certain things like now. But
mhm.
I think he had a he had like a cat, like a Cheshire cat. That was his persona at the time because his shtick was that he would smile at the camera and like disappear, and it would play into like bits that he would post to YouTube, and they're kind of diseased by today's
Oh,
standard.
wait a minute. I know what you're talking about now. Like, holy shit, you just awoken like a huge memory cell that's been locked away, chained up, and cobwebs and dust have been like gathering over there. But then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hold on. Oh. Oh, wow, I haven't seen this in a while. What do we got in here? Oh, never mind. Never mind. Close
Oh
it.
no!
Get out of here. No, sorry.
Yeah,
That's...
you probably found my ex's dildo
Mhm.
in there. Nah, kid. um,
But I think they actually didn't they? I think they had like a website
they
like that
did.
was fully animated.
Yeah,
Yeah, they had like a lot of the like stereotypes of like furries. That,
exactly.
oh God, like
And
yep.
the reason I know about that now is because when I was in middle school, like this was far before my time even then. Like this is like that would be old even then by then standards, but that was years ago when I was
Hmm.
younger. But I discovered them and it confused me because I'm like, well, I'm a young furry, but I'm not like these people. And Sean was like
Right.
ironically hard, and the whole reason I reference that is because by today's standards, most furries, like at least maybe this could be anecdotal, all right? I only say that because a lot of people feel more comfortable and more like, body positive. They're willing to post pictures of themselves
Hmm.
on Twitter. It's like a weird catch-22 though, because they're only posting their best pictures to like, drive home that they're truly an attractive, young, hip individual that's down with it. But, you actually see them and maybe they're not as good as their pictures would lead you to believe. But just anecdotally, it seems like most furries now, if they're in their like late teens, early 20s, they're a lot more attractive and they're a lot more presentable than furries when I was younger, about their age, Because like back then, it's like
Hmm.
some people, like maybe like 3 out of the 10 people in the room are what you would consider to be attractive. 3 are plain, and then the others look like they've been dredged up from their ex-wife's basement, their ex-wife's parents'
Right.
basement, from a goblin siege, and they still got that Cheeto fucking pasted shirt that's got like mysterious stains towards down there. Um, Max, you know the type of people I'm talking about. You see them in everyday life.
Sadly. Don't want to. Don't want to.
Oh.
I tell you that
Oh.
Cheeto resin doesn't leave very easily.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I remember very distinctively. There was a clip that a photographer caught where furry was like picking his nose, and like 5 to 10 seconds later, he touches a fursuiter directly in front of him. Now, bear in mind, the fursuiter didn't get a chance to see him like pick his nose, but it wasn't like, haha, I got boogers on you. It was a, like, he just wanted to enjoy the soft plush feel of a living embodiment of a plush. But I can only imagine what germs he transferred to the fur.
Mm-hmm. Right.
As for Sean Keller, didn't he work for Disney? Maybe he did. Sean Keller, do you remember his background? Did he work for... No?
No, I really don't.
He just seemed like an animator
Yeah,
that...
not really.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I've never really known much about other than the thing we were talking about. So.
Oh. All right. So I don't want to just talk about needless drama. I want to talk about something that's a little bit closer to my childhood. And probably like you two, I had a fairly decent upbringing out in the suburbs. Like middle, lower class. I wasn't like fucking like Kool-Aid girl who still had like a Kool-Aid mustache. I got to drink real orange juice when I grew up in the morning, and like instead of Kool-Aid. All right. So I had no idea about this, but apparently there's a Sonic Adventure, or I should say Sonic the Hedgehog comic book, and it's been in existence for a long damn time, and it's special.
By Archie Comics.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like Arctasia. You joined the fandom at 1998. I think I was really little, but my mother took me to the PX, and the PX is basically a shittier commissary for like military people, but you can get some decent things there for a decent price. And what I remember very distinctively is that on the comic book rack, there was a Sonic the Hedgehog comic book, and I didn't even think those existed, and it was already issue like 102. And like the comics themselves were pretty cool, all right? The first like 50 to 60 were like a cartoon, but after that they became more serious and more like in your face. Like for instance, Sonic the Hedgehog finding himself to be in situations where he's like in a relationship with somebody, but there's a breakup because it's like, you just want to fight Dr. Eggman all the time, and you're endangering yourself, and you're endangering our potential children, and blah, 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 blah. So, if, fucking Eggman wants you all to himself, he can have you. Like, and Sonic got bitch slapped. I remember it very simply. Like, Sally Acorn, he got bitch slapped. Like, just, and, that's about the time where all the comics were always weird, right? They brought situations to Sonic the Hedgehog that you would never expect. And I always, like, as an adult, I was looking back and I'm like, did the comic end or is it still going? And apparently there's a dude called Ken Panders. And I'm kind of surprised that he became like a meme because, just curiosity. I'm just like, okay, this Ken Panders guy, there's a reason that a lot of people in the Sonic fandom do not like him at all. They just absolutely hate his guts. Can you guess why? Go ahead, Max.
Maybe.
Yeah?
But I'll keep it to myself for now.
Okay. That's probably for the best. I'm kind of surprised that Ken Penders even got mentioned because like there's an animation, right? And like he's even mentioned in like seemingly off the wall, unrelated animations. It's like, hey Bander, like, do you know Ken Panders? All right, Ken Penders is a guy who worked for Archie Comics, and Archie Comics took up the license for Sega to make Sonic the Hedgehog as a like licensed comic of Sega. The agreement was that they were always supposed to report to Sega and be like, hey, this is what's going on in the comic book story for Sonic comparative to the games. And Sega's only real requirement was, okay, you can like make up whatever canon in this world for the purpose of the comics, but our only request is for you to somehow make it relate to the games. So for instance, what that meant for the comic is that when Station Square was presented in Sonic Adventure, it would exist so too in the comic book, you know? And
Right.
Max, you might remember it because I think you're closer to my age, but remember Sad AM, like Sonic Sad AM when you were growing up? You've been really little. Okay. Sonic Sad AM was like the closest thing that you got to a cartoon of the comic book series, but
Oh yeah, Sonic Saturday morning cartoon. Because there was two different ones. There was that one, which was a very limited run, like a season, and then you had this other, like, just more slapstick kind of like goofy one that went for several seasons.
yeah, so like I obviously prefer the serious one where like, you know,
Yes.
the implication is that if Dr. Robotnik captures you, he going to turn you into a robot. And that's like the closest thing to dying because when you become a robot, your soul kind of like you're not normal and you're basically a slave to Robotnik, and it was the closest thing to like serious because you know they can't really show people
Yeah.
dying or anything like
Right.
that, but so they get around the cartoon violence of destroying SWAT bots by like, hey, they're all robots, kind of like Samurai Jack did. For instead of blood, you see oil like just spewing all over the place. Anyway, so like that all to say, Ken Penders is apparently one of the people that was involved in all that, and his reach is kind of wide. Like he himself, he's a nerd of a dude. I think he looks like, yeah, he looks like a product of his time. I'm kind of surprised that he even found like a wife to fuck and have 2 kids with. Like more power to him. I'm not trying to like knock him down on that, but it's like he's a parental nerd. He is like a perennial nerd in every sense of the word. In fact, I think he looks better with the mustache than without. Kind of like fucking like Mr. Wilson from Dennis the Menace. But okay, so Ken Penders, he contributes a lot to Sonic the Hedgehog. And what's crazy is he didn't even know about Sonic the Hedgehog. He didn't know about video games when he was first sort of called into action by this guy named Mike Howden or Mike Haldell. I forget his name, but like Ken, he was picked because it felt like, hey, this guy probably knows more about Sonic and Sega the Hedgehog or Sega the Hedgehog. I want that to become a real IP, like a parody of Sonic the Hedgehog. Sega the Hedgehog. All right. So that all to be said, what ends up happening is he's basically joined at the hip with Archie. And Archie, occasionally there would be little comics they would release about like what it's like on the inside as jokes, right? Like, and you could see caricatures of certain people. And the reason that the comics kind of took weird directions and stuff like that is because Ken Penders would inject a lot of story ideas that were derivative of whatever movies were popular at the time, or like, you know, or I should say in his time, because like they were usually passe by the time that they actually made it to the comic book. But, you know, he figured, like, we're selling this comic to stupid kids. They're not going to know. They're not going to know this reference. They're not going to know that. Like, there was, for instance, one of the stories was literally, like, Eggman as, like, a world eater. I don't know if you remember that whole Marvel thing where it's, like, the eater of worlds. And he had, like, the Silver Surfer as one of the people that was, like, with him. You know? You know what I'm talking about? All right. TLDR,
Never really got into them.
Dr. Robotnik is like bigger than a fucking planet and will eat the planet of all of its resources if he gets a hold of it. That was one of the stories. And it's in the far future.
Damn, he really let himself go.
I mean, he's kind of like that. Okay, you know how Russia, the Ukraine war is going on right now? I'm not going to get too deep into it, but like an inordinate amount of Russian generals are getting sniped, assassinated, or killed, like en masse. And the situation got so bad that they called like a retired general out of retirement to serve like in Ukraine. And when I saw his picture, well, I'll describe him to you this way. The dude needs 5 meals a day and 2 quarts of vodka to wash all that stuff down. That's like he's like, okay, Okay, Vladimir, I will come out of retirement, but you need to make this better for me, you understand? When I serve on the front lines, I want to see this. I need 2 sets of body armor. He literally needs like 2 vests. He's so big, he needs 2 like vests like side by side to protect himself and like all this other stuff. And when I saw his picture, I'm like, holy fuck! His plan is to eat Ukraine, one bite at a time. That's how he's gonna beat Ukraine. Because he was so when you're like saying, "Damn, Dr. Robotnik really let himself go," it reminds me of that dude.
Right.
Anyway, so what ends up happening later is that. So, like, Sega eventually catches wind that a lot of weird shit's been happening in the comics. And they specify some random requirements. It's like, hey, these comics need to abide by these standards. And, like, Sonic can't show excessive emotion. He can't fail, which is dumb. He can't have a love life unless it's Amy Rose. And it's like this, that, and the other. And it's just like, Ken Penders is like, fuck this, I'm out. I'm going to make it in Hollywood. And if you know anything about Ken Penders' early work, he has no understanding of how Hollywood as an industry works. And he surprisingly worked on things like King of the Hill as an animator. And like he tried to get this show, The Republic, off the ground. And Ken, to this day, will claim that he predicted Trumpism, that he predicted the election of Donald Trump, that he predicted all this other stuff with his shitty show. It was a really bad show. It was about, like, sort of a satirical take of Republican Americans as, like, a family life. It wasn't too well done. He's obsessed with echidnas, like, for instance, in his mind, because he's the one that drafted all of this headcanon for Knuckles the Echidna, or Sonic the Hedgehog, that he deserves to have all of these characters. Such memorable characters as female Sonic, Sonic with a toupee, Robin Hood Sonic, with slightly lighter colored fur and like quills, Robo Sonic, Evil Sonic. Literally Sonic with a leather jacket and glasses from an alternate dimension that's evil for some reason.
I like it,
yeah.
I was surprised there wasn't like a Sonic with like a goatee.
There probably is.
Alternate universe Sonic.
Yeah.
Sonic with a goatee.
Yeah.
I love how old of a reference that is, but it still is around to this day.
I mean,
older than me.
Oh no, definitely. But all right, he's getting himself worked up in all these little things. He's like he developed like over 250 characters for Sega, like something like that. You know, in the video games, you have a denomination of characters. Yeah. It's like he just made all these characters, but it's almost like he's got the Christian effect. See, like Christian, he had an obsession with making a lot of Sonic characters, which really, at the end of the day, were basically palette swapped, color swapped echidnas, or I should say Sonics or Sonic shoes or whatever. But people would often point out they're so two-dimensional that technically they only fall into like 25 archetypes. So it's like 300 characters, but if they had two-dimensional personalities, because it's like they can fit into categories. They're so two-dimensional. Ken Penders was a little bit better than that because he was an adult, but all right. So one day he's kind of like he's trying to get ahead of all these projects. One project is literally a show about metahumans that have survived the nuclear blast, and it's basically a ripoff of X-Men because they're mutated now and they're trying to hide from like the Japanese government. I don't know why it's only Japan. I guess it's where the nukes fell, but for some reason, people can speak in plain English without an accent. You know, it's not like Chris Hansen no desu. They just talk like nothing's going on. All of these projects have essentially failed, but Ken Penders is coming back with a vengeance because he wants all those echidnas and he wants them now. Rumor has it he's going to sue the entire country of Australia because he doesn't know that echidnas are real animals. He wants those echidnas and he wants them bad. Okay, he's got an echidna fetish. And
Oh dear.
actually, I looked at his Twitter recently because I was actually going to make a video about this. If you like, I'm planning on fucking with him, but I think he'll block me too fast. I'm gonna reach out to him and just be like, saying things. He'll still get into arguments. This guy's like in his 60s. He's my dad's age, but he'll still get into arguments with whoever challenges him. Doesn't matter on what. Doesn't matter how. He is that vain and petty of an individual. But he challenged like 2 big game
Not
companies.
worth any time.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Maxwell, because you know what? He wants all of his characters so he can spearhead his own comic book. It's going to be better with everybody else. He had a guy that looked like Gary Coleman, like literally Gary Coleman inside of a spacesuit, as like the only human on the front cover. And if I want to send you guys, hey, everybody in the audience, I'm going to post this somewhere in chat. Number 1, number 2. I'm going to send directly to Arctasia and Maxwell. I want to share with you all the beauty of Ken Penders' work. All right, it's amazing. It's stupendous. You are
Please
all
Please no.
no. You need to see this, Maxwell.
This could be good.
Maxwell, where we're going, we don't need eyes. Okay, we don't need eyes.
We don't need roads, and god dang it, That's it.
I found it. Okay.
So
Yes.
I'm just gonna treat this like a colon cleanser.
Okay, I'm not going to send you the actual image because I'm not that cruel and unusual.
Oh well, damn.
But I will send you the link to the tweet, and to everybody that's watching this live stream right now, I will drop this in the voice chat because I think it's worth looking at. It's worth saving. It is definitely worth saving. I want to put down. I want to put a clarification. Do not look at this for too long. Hey Tavo.
I'm
Hey
already
everybody.
looking at this for too long. Like I'm looking at this like I'm expecting like magic to happen.
All right.
It did.
Before I even continue, I want you guys to comment on the artwork, the artistry, or lack thereof, whichever you feel is applicable, and just tell me anything that you see wrong with this picture.
Why is there a black dude in the back?
Exactly. Bro, I gotta take a lap, bro. I can't.
Oh, yeah.
I can't right now. I can't.
Like,
Can't.
just a
Why you
random
do this to
human
me? I'm just a
that's
fox, man. Come on, bro. Why you gotta
But-
torture a poor little fox?
But guys,
I'm 80 pounds. Why you do this?
this is Ken Penders' work. It's amazing. It's stupendous. You might even say it's magical. I think Maxwell's suffering from indigestion.
No, I gotta lay down.
Oh no, don't worry about it. Maxwell's feeling it. He's feeling the magic tonight. But yeah, that's Ken Penders' work. It's amazing, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I give up on life. Again.
so
Made me blue. I'm sad now.
it's honestly things like this that make me just want to take the grandiose opportunity to shit my father's mouth.
Oh my
And,
god.
Well, not my father's
Fish.
mouth. Maybe their father's mouth, actually. 'Cause
Oh,
the-
no.
Like, there's dimensions to this, but not in a good way. Like, it's more like a rabbit hole, and, like, I've fallen into it, and now I'm just, like, I can't get out of
Falling
it. Like,
perpetually.
I keep looking at this image, it's almost like it's that concept of open the fridge, hoping to find something good, and then you're just staring, you're like, there's gotta be something.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, there really isn't anything. The best you can do is close that door and walk away.
It reminds me of
And I need to do that. I need to do that.
when you say that.
Close this now.
Oh.
It's gone. I mean, I can still see the preview on the fucking Discord, so it's not completely gone. But
So looking at this again, I've already seen this a couple times, but I think the most
I'm sorry.
I think the most disturbing aspects of this are the large people portrayed in the front, like right behind like the three main characters. And
Yeah.
Ken has been working on this for like 15 years now, something like that. Something close to that. And okay, so I've exposed you guys. I probably took what a little energy that Maxwell had to withstand this powerful onslaught. Sorry, Max,
You
but
have to understand, the more you look at it, the more worse it becomes. It's one of those things.
what if to like run out on a shitty marriage, I left that hung like on the bedroom, like the door instead of the Tron stuff.
I think it would honestly ease the tension. You're just like, wow, if that's how they feel, I'm glad they're gone. Fuck yeah, right? You know what? I feel better already. I don't even know why. I just feel magically better. Holy shit. Why did I dodge a bullet? Wow.
Yeah, no, honest.
That's fine. Yeah.
Freaking 3 echidnas coming through a portal.
If someone earnestly broke up with me and showed me that, I would just instantly feel better. Like, okay, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm missing out on nothing. That's fine. That's fine.
Oh,
My friend says, and nothing of value was
Yeah.
lost.
Exactly.
that's oddly enough how they felt about that Peace Wolf situation. Excuse me. All right. So I wanted to read a comment that was like made. Top right hand corner looks like a portrait of Mike Tyson as the U.S. Senator for the District of Mars. Very,
Yeah.
very astute observation. I genuinely start to. I think that is Mike Tyson. That would be amazing if he like in a spacesuit, you just have Mike Tyson, where it's just like, I'll make you scream like my wife. Oh, I got the heart of a warrior. And he's like beating up Martians and shit like that. Okay, so the issue here is,
I mean,
Go
if
aid.
I was a random human in that image, I would wear a spacesuit too to avoid breathing the same air as everything else in that fucking picture. Like, honestly.
you're not wrong.
God.
You think
Jeez.
that's oxygen you're breathing?
Right.
Oh no.
It's called degeneracy. That's...
Julie looks more eager than Roosh the Bat. He should give it another 15 years, probably. Moose, why are you going to give this man another 15 years? That's just a time sink right there. There is actually worse stuff he has drawn, definitely. Mega Man is in the middle back. Wait, what? Let me look at the picture again. Wait, what?
Actually,
What? Wait.
yeah.
Oh, no!
Look
Look at that.
It is Mega Man! No!
It's literally Mega Man with a Sonic quote-unquote face.
Yeah, that's...
Man, that's like old school Mega Man, like DOS Mega Man.
Dude, that's like bad box art Mega Man. The one that, like, had a fucked up face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the very
DOS
first
Mega
one.
Man.
Yeah.
I think you mean like classic Nintendo Mega Man.
Okay.
DOS Mega Man was really weird looking in the box art. They put like a short, stubby guy in the Mega Man costume, and that was apparently Mega Man.
Maxwell, what about
Video game nerd.
what about Captain N, like, Mega Man? The one that talked like Popeye smoked an entire Marlboro factory. All
Why
right.
do I keep looking at this picture? All right, I'm done.
Keep it up for
That's why I keep
inspiration.
sucking you in. You're just like
Yeah.
you're noticing new stuff every time.
Inspiration. Yeah, that's what we'll call it. I don't think I'm looking at this picture feeling inspired.
Yeah, I would suggest I'm going to close it right now because I think this is slowly.
What not to do.
Well, I think it's like slowly sucking out pieces of my soul every time I make eye contact with like a couple of the characters. It's like, something.
Honestly.
I'm losing something, either brain cells or pieces of my soul every time I make contact with those characters. But
I'm just gonna put it as my desktop background and call it a day.
Actually, that's a good anti-theft deterrent. I don't think, like, any thief that comes to your room, you leave that on, like your computer on the lock screen, and it's just that. They're like, no, 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 no. Just close the door and leave the house.
It'll be inspiration to do better every day.
Yes.
Like, no matter how bad my stuff comes.
That'd be a good way to keep away solicitation and stuff like that. You just plaster that at your front door. People won't come for miles. Like, no.
That's terrible.
What this household about, but I'm already getting an impression from this alone. So,
all right.
keep it going.
I'm sorry that I derailed the conversation and the narrative I was telling you guys, but the reason I showed you that is because Ken Panders has the ability to do good work. It's just that the reason all of those echidnias, as he likes to call them, look like that, there's a reason for that.
Did you say echidnias?
Yep. Enchiladas.
Oh, okay.
Enlarged prostates. I'm trying to think of whatever terminology.
Penises.
Yeah. At this point, yeah, it might as well be. The reason they look like that is they have to be
They do.
distinctively distinct, like from what Knuckles looks like in the Sonic the Hedgehog series.
Okay, well, that guy in the front looks like literally Knuckles.
I know. Well, I'm getting to that. Okay, so Ken Penders is a guy kind of like me, except I'd like to think that I'm a little bit more of a quality artist than he is, and but he's like an industry standard guy. He's been around the block. He definitely knows how to illustrate, but some things I have noticed about his artwork is that it's very inconsistent across the board. Like, imagine if I drew Maxwell, and one picture, Maxwell looks like he's been hitting the gym. He's got his protein in him. He's like, got some muscle tone. And the next one, he's got sticks for arms and like really tiny legs, and his eyes are a little bit spaced, like too far apart. Needless to say, it doesn't look right. That's what I've noticed. Like, certain features between panels will fluctuate or contract depending on what's going on, and it's. Okay. I'm going to call it a penderism. The other penderism is to viciously attack anybody or block them when they don't concede to your bullshit. When like people ask you like, "Hey, are you sure this is the right thing, or why? Like, what about your promises 20 years ago?" So people in the comments, the best comment was like, Ken Penders is putting all his chips on the table, and he wants that comic that I just showed you guys, the Chronicles of Lara Sue, or the Lara Sue Chronicles. He wants that to be a real thing that's going to succeed, it's going to sell, and everyone's going to buy a copy. I mean, if it exists, I'll buy a copy. Fuck it. I'll buy it not for the purposes of enjoying it, but saying that I have it and lock it in my lockbox of unmentionables till the day I die. Like,
I'll put it in my safety deposit box and call it my retirement fund.
Yes. All right.
You have nothing better to do.
Oh, no. Seriously. But, like, the worst thing about this all... Okay, so he makes all these characters, and he tries to copyright them later down the line. A game comes out, and I think it was, like, 2008, 2009. It's like... I'm trying to remember which one. It was one of those DS games. And the problem with, like, most of those DS games is that they were mediocre at best, usually. The Dark...
were shovelware, too.
Exactly. The Dark Side Chronicles, I think. And it introduced a new character called Shade. For some reason, I got like goosebumps. It was like Shade the Bat. No, not him. It was Shade the Echidna, or Echidnia, as he'd call it. But here's the thing. Ken Penders came up with a concept of like the Dark Brotherhood, who all existed in another dimension, who all worship technology, even though echidnas aren't supposed to worship technology, because some convoluted bullshit story about how technology is like the root of all evil. So I guess in this room, Maxwell will be the root of all evil. He's pretty much made of technology at this point. But it's important to bear all that in mind because there's certain resemblances that sort of carry over from the comics to the game. And it's possible that the game developers took inspiration from the comics. But even if they did, they would have had the justification to do that because Ken Penders was working for Archie, which had a contractual agreement with Sega at the time. Anytime that the comic made something new, they would have to report back to Sega and tell them, yeah, this is what we made that's considered part of the canon as far as the comics go. Archie wasn't doing that, like, for a long time. And that's how Ken Penders got into his mind that he could just make up all this bullshit that had no relevance to Sonic the Hedgehog, at least as far as the games are concerned. So Ken, he takes them to court, and the TLDR is that Archie is so incompetent, they don't have an original copy of his contract. Like, he asked for it. Like, the only reason he sued is because he called in and he's like, hey, you got an original copy of my contract? And it's like, no. Oh, okay. It's very interesting. Click. And people have tried to claim that, like, he snuck into Archie, knew where to go, and destroyed the contract. But he worked for them from 1992, I think. And the one that they had was from 1998. Or 1996. Sorry about that. And when this was mentioned in court, he's like, Your Honor, I have no doubts that a comic book company that specializes in making comic books has the ability to furnish a fake contract. You know, the contract that they're presenting is the more like later version. It's a photocopy. It is not the original contract. I know what I did. I have other people here that will attest to this. And that was the whole basis. And, you know, Archie's legal team was so incompetent that Archie fired their original legal team to hire a new legal team to take over for them to defend them from Ken Penders. It was a 3-ring circus. And the worst thing about it is the judge, there's like leaked audio. The judge sounds like he's about to have a heart attack, like a fatal heart attack at any other breath. Because he's just like, and he didn't seem to understand what a Sonic was. He didn't understand what a Sega Genesis or a Dreamcast was. He didn't understand what a video game was. People had to explain to him in detail. And what's even more crazy is he seemed to struggle about what a comic book was. And so, yeah. So like they're explaining all this, and he's like overseeing the case, and like it gets like deeper and deeper and deeper on all this. And what ends up happening is, like as far as legal defense goes, Archie is basically saying he was work to hire. Ken Penders is saying prove it. Because as far as I'm concerned, I made all these characters for your company, and, you know, per the terms of my contract, I did so, and I deserve to have these characters. And, like, you know, Archie is trying to get Sega to come in, but Sega at that point in time didn't give enough of a shit to come in and, like, do anything about it. Yeah.
Right.
Because, like, you know, Sega wants to make video games. They're not in the business for comic books. So eventually the case was dismissed. From what I remember, Sega gave a little bit of money to Ken Penders as like hush money. Like very, very small amount, like $100 or something like that. Like a troll amount. But the expectation was, hey, we're not going to pursue legal action against you for portrayals of those echidnas that you like so much, but we will go after you if they look like, you know, the games that we release. You know, like Knuckles. You know what Knuckles looks like? Like fucking flat-headed, massive dreadlocked fucking echidna. And Ken Penders, in his mind, he thinks that he now owns legally all these Sonic characters. But the problem is they can't look like the Sonic characters in the comics and shit like that. If they do, then, you know, there's going to be potential legal repercussions. And, like, the worst thing about it is, when he actually attacked Sega and the other... Well, he didn't attack Sega. He tried to, but he was going after Archie and Bungieware or something. It was whoever made the Dark Brotherhood Chronicles or whatever. My favorite moment of, like, the courtroom is just, like... yeah, my like the client's like trying to like sue my um like the what was it Ken Penders is trying to sue my client because he's under the impression that like the sales from the game were so great that there's now a pocket of there's like a freaking pile of gold over here. And they were just talking about that. It's like, all right, the game was released in 2008 and he started suing in 2012. So that's about a 3-year gap. And the game wasn't even that groundbreaking to begin with. And like the judge is just like, so it's now a thimble of gold, no longer a pot. Thimble. And it's like, well, the pot's gone now, all right? It had its time in the sun and all the sales were made. Now there's no one really making money off of that. And the judge is still just like, you could just tell at every response or inquiry, the judge seemed pretty cool. Like I liked his responses and shit, but he's like so old that like you could just hear like the clocks, like the gears turning in his head, like thinking and reflecting upon whatever's. It'd be like Maxwell trying to teach his grandpa how to use like like a VR headset, and like it sounds easy, but remember you're teaching him conceptually, not like directly. So it was goofy as hell. Anyway, that's why Ken Penders is the way he is now. He thinks that he walked away with all these characters and he's legally allowed to use them all. But here's the problem. Even if he suspects that, he feels that like in his soul and is like, all this other stuff. You can empirically that image I showed you, that's not commercially viable. That's not high in demand. Nobody wants that. Right? Like
Right.
So in fact, I think like us talking about it, what we would do with it if we had access to it was more funny than like what I could even imagine, because there's nothing you can do with it. Like no comic book store is going to want to buy that IP, number one. Number two, even if you had copies to give out, I don't think people would take that for free. Like you couldn't give that shit for free.
Right. They would pay you to keep it, in fact. They'd be like,
Oh no.
I don't want this.
I don't want this.
Keep it out of my life. That's not what I wanted.
By the way, when we were talking about the Chisone effects thing, like, I love your reaction to whatever Maxwell would say. Like, acting like that gay barista type at Starbucks, and, like, your reactions to the whole thing. And it's just like, Maxwell's like, who is funding this garbage? It's like, oh, you had no idea how stressful this is, honey. Just... I think I'll try to take like every dead.
I wish you would just open up your heart more to the struggles of other people, okay? Everyone's just trying to make it in this life.
Tell that to Ken Penders. All right.
Yeah.
We're getting, let's see what time we're getting to. 2 hours and 30 minutes. That's not bad. So what do you guys think? 30 more minutes, or you want to call it a night?
I mean, if we can think of something else, yeah, we could probably.
Oh, dude,
Oops.
I want you guys to feel comfortable with this, because we're starting this back up again, and
Yeah.
I loved everything we talked about. I'll probably chop up the footage and make like little condensed episodes, but no, really, like it's like, what do you even say after a year of not doing a podcast and you come back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maxwell, you got anything for us?
Mm-mm.
All right, Arctaeus, you got anything for us?
Yeah, just make sure that you eat healthy meals every day.
Get the fuck out of here!
Brush your teeth.
You remind me of that RoboCop game that was shitty from like when I was a kid, and like it would give you like little tidbits of quote unquote helpful information, like look both ways. It's like, what? Like, am I crossing the street to fight crime?
Yeah.
Do you guys know the musician Lil Nas X? Lil Nas? Really?
Yeah, I do. I don't know too much of their work, but I've heard of them at least.
All right. He's a TikTok rapper. He's got like 8 million followers. He is. Okay, like, so let me portray to you guys his image. Like, you'd think that the furry fandom would love having somebody like Lil Nas in the fandom, right? Because he's young, he's beautiful, he's crazy, he's black, he's gay. He's like a very, like, he looks very good, and he dresses very well. So he's young, right? He doesn't look that young, but like he is young. And he became popular and famous through TikTok, and I think he's a pretty cool dude. Granted, he does some weird videos. All right. So you wouldn't know this, but Lil Nas, about a year ago, he expressed interest of becoming a furry. Like, he at least wanted a fursuit. And, what's crazy about... Yeah, it's... Well, if you look at Lil Nas, some of his videos, the production values can be over the top. Like, for instance, my favorite, he's got, like, golden armor. Like, gold armor that you'd like, win off of Skyrim or something like that. Or how... I think one of the racier videos was that it's implied that he fucked the devil. And he was like a succubus demon type, or incubus, I should say. Anyway, he's a pretty, like, over-the-top kind of guy, but what do you think his interactions with the furry fandom have been? Like, go ahead. What, like, based on somebody that's TikTok famous, makes a pretty good deal of money, has a lot of albums released and things like music out there, what do you think the perception, like, what do you think his interactions with the Twitter crowd, let alone the furry crowd, have been so far?
Good and bad.
Yes.
Probably sucked a lot of dick and stabbed a lot of backs.
Oh, no. Okay, Arctatio, are you going to say something?
I mean, it would probably be pretty much the same, honestly, because, like, yeah, some people would probably just be all for that, but others would be like, bruh, like...
All right, I'll tell you what happened. Lil Nas, he has no connections to the furry fandom at the time. He wants to broach the fandom. He wants to get a feel for... Because, like, what Lil Nas sees, probably being an outsider, he sees, like, nice, fine, like, fursuits. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I want a fursuit of this, like, someday. But it's like, when you're an outsider looking in, you don't know where to go. You don't know who to contact. It's like, who makes these suits? And if you're just a normie, not saying that Lil Nas is necessarily a normie, but he's obviously not into contact with anybody here. He doesn't know where to go, number one. Number two, he's just putting out the question, hey, who would I like contact to make myself a suit? Who would I get into contact to get a suit? Because it's not like you can go to your local Walmart and find something that's like that quality or that quality, like on the shelf. Unless, well, maybe Walmart's wet dream will occur someday. Anyway, people reach out and are like, one fursuit maker in particular, she reaches out and she's like, I would be honored if I could make you a fursuit. And like Lil Nas, he left her on red because he didn't see it, I would imagine. The dude's got 8 million followers on TikTok. He's got a lot going on. And that was the first misstep that he took. A fursuit maker is offering her services to him, and he doesn't immediately pounce on it and strike up conversation with her to patch this over. And people are immediately just pissed off with Lil Nas. And it's just like, all right. Well, yeah, it's like, how dare you? Like, she's throwing herself at you, and you're ignoring her. You must be ignoring her. Also, this hits a little bit close to home, but more recently I ran into a situation where if I didn't do something, whether I did or didn't do something, the other person would accuse me of doing like the worst possible thing. Like, you're avoiding me, or you're annoying, you're like, not spending time with me, or this, that, and the other. And I'm starting to think that maybe that's a furry trait, like furry trash trait. What do you guys think?
I 100% agree. Like, I haven't really seen that to any frequency outside the fandom.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
I should say there is, obviously, but not as much as you do here. I think it's just kind of like, because, I don't know, there's just something about this fandom that kind of like attracts that sort of mentality. I think there's just a lot of immaturity in this fandom in general because there's a lot of younger folks and whatnot,
Yeah.
or folks that just cannot fit in anywhere else with their, social awkwardness or concept of life. So,
Wait.
and unfortunately, it kind of grows and cesspools into a thing where people think this is just the norm and that's how it should be, when in reality, it really shouldn't.
Ar-
But,
Artasia? Do you mean to tell me that babies are
mhm.
born mentally retarded? Sorry.
I mean, maybe some of them.
Whoa! Okay. Anyway. So that's strike one. People are getting pissed. Oh. Was that me?
Hmm? What?
I thought my body spazzed out. Anyway, strike one. People are getting
Oh.
pissy with Lil Nas. And they're basically saying, you're ignoring her. Lil Nas eventually ends up buying a fursuit off of Wish.com. Yeah. And you know what the worst thing about that is?
Hmm.
The
Just Wish?
Not just that. The original design is derivative of a pre-existing suit that was commissioned by someone. So like a Chinese
Of
developer,
course.
like they got a hold of the pictures and they're like,
Mhm.
"Hey, we can make that," without any understanding that that's a character. And like Lil Nas doesn't know this, right? He doesn't know.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody would just be able to like know unless it was like an obvious character. It'd be like if Maxwell, we dressed him like Star Fox, and then people are like, "Hey, it's Star Fox." Very different.
Mhm.
Like if you like study side by side, but people would make the connection like in their head, right?
Mhm.
And it's a misunderstanding.
Right.
But all right, so he gets like a dog, like fursuit, and it's not that bad, but like considering that's from Wish.com, it was probably cheap. That was probably the benefit from getting that. And he starts doing TikTok videos with it. Like for instance, there's one where he's like in a bathtub with the fursuit on, just for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what point he was trying to make, but he's just like, yo, I'm just chilling here, hanging out, yo. And the furry fandom immediately loses its shit for the second time. It's like, not only did you ignore one of the fursuit makers, you dared like go out of your way to buy a stolen character from a Chinese manufacturer. You hate the furry fandom, and
Oh
It-
my god.
yeah, it's like because Lil Nas is really supposed to know like all of this from the get go.
Mhm.
Somebody that
Yeah.
got TikTok famous doing rap videos and music videos, he's just automatically gonna know.
Mhm. Right.
So like what ends up happening is he gets into it with a few people, but mostly it was surreal to me because like Lil Nas, like he seems like a cool, chill guy. He's kind of like us, just chill. He probably takes all that non-chillness and puts it to his videos because some of his videos are kind of like they're kind of out there, but they're good. They're good quality and stuff. More recently there was a clip, like a sort of comic where all these angry people are yelling at, it's implied to be directed at Lil Nas. And people are going so far as to claim, like, let's be honest, you had no interest in the furry fan to begin with. The only reason that you wanted to be a part of the fandom was so that you would have another market to sell your shitty records to, or albums to, your music to. And it's just like, bro, Lil Nas doesn't need the fandom. Like he's got he's got all this clout elsewhere. The fandom is so microscopic by comparison to greater everyday society. It's just like he doesn't need us.
Mhm.
He wants to become a part of us, which that sounds like a curse. Like kind of.
Yeah, I mean, good luck to him.
Exactly. So what ends up happening is I don't know where it's sitting right now, but it was so weird because you'd think that the furry fandom, he's like everything that would be considered valued in the fandom. Like he's part of the LGBTQ community. He's a minority. He's attractive. He's young. He's got all this stuff going for him. And this is like everything went wrong from the very beginning. So, a lot of furries out there, they saw this whole thing happen from the year one, like from last year to this year, and they felt a combination of secondhand embarrassment for the fandom itself, as well as just disbelief that the fandom would react to somebody famous coming in. And it's like, this isn't a situation of keep the fandom weird and like keep the corporations out. This is another creative out there who just happened to get famous, wanting to be a part of this fringe subculture, and the subculture, the outcasts wanted him out. They're just like, get the fuck out of here. It's just like, wow. and the irony is that for as many people that want to say that the fandom is accepting, inclusive, welcoming of outsiders, no. You kind of have to grow into it. It seems like, to me.
Yeah, you fuck up just once, the fandom will flip on a dime 180, and immediately you're like the worst thing ever.
So true.
I'm gonna look this up on Amazon, and I'll buy it if it exists, or I'll make it myself. But there was that like little like coffee table book that you'd see, where it's like Hitler riding on a magic carpet in his pajamas down a rainbow. It's like everyone I disagree with is literally Hitler. And something like that. That it reminds me of the portrayal of rabbits. You ever watch Cool World? By Ralph Bakshi, I think.
Oh my god, I've seen a review of it. It scares me. I'm being honest.
Okay.
Ralph Bakshi, dude. Right.
So, Ralph Bakshi did a lot of... I'm just going to go ahead and say it. He did a lot of racist shit, but he wasn't technically racist because he was shitting on all of the stereotypes, be they white, black, Hispanic, or whatever. And I think my favorite was... all right. Imagine Homer Simpson, but he's like a violent drunk. Like, not only is he stupid and kind of slow-witted, but he's violent. All right, so in one of the like movies that I really like, it's called Heavy Traffic, and the protagonist is described as being a 24-year-old pinball-playing virgin. The closest thing that you're gonna get to a basement dweller video game player, right? And he's got a like African American girlfriend, and they have a pretty good dynamic, right? He's Jewish, Italian, she's black. And they love each other very much. Granted, their dynamic kind of fluctuates a little bit because in the early days, my favorite thing is, like, I forget her name, but she basically says, like, hey, as long as I got this good thing, like this full head of hair and this good thing, she pats her ass, and this full head of hair, I don't need no man. But, he eventually wins her over, and they have a good relationship. The reason I mentioned the father and the mother is because the mother is kind of like an Asian mom, but she's Jewish. So anytime that Michael's at home, she comes to him, providing him food, and is doting on him. And she hates the father because, well, he's a drunk and he's been cheating on her. But, the crazy thing is, my favorite part of the whole movie, right, is they get into an argument about Michael because both parents really love the child. It's just that the father wants Michael to, one, respect him, and two, become part of the mob like he is. He's a strike breaker. That's his function. He's capo. The mother wants just Michael to get out of the house and succeed, but she's also willing to help him, cook for him and stuff like that, and wants him to do good. So they get into an argument outside, and eventually the quote-unquote Homer Simpson of, this movie, he's just like, all right, that's it, Hilda. You and me, right here, right now. And they fucking literally fist fight. She pulls a kitchen knife on him, and he just, he takes his gun out and pistol whips her, and she, gets slung right back out onto the fucking balcony of their apartment. And she slowly lifts her nightgown, and she's got a fucking leather holster with, the Star of David, but it's not a gun. It's a fucking hatchet. and she just like daintily lifts it and goes after him with the hatchet. Drunk Homer Simpson eventually wins, but she basically concedes to this. Oh, and the other thing about him is there was like a clown, like homeless dude on the street. He's like window wiping, like the dude's car. And it's like, hey, buddy, can you spare a dime? And drunk Homer Simpson is like, violent Homer Simpson, I should say, is like, sure, buddy, sure. Let me just go, and just socks him right in the face and drives off. Like, what an asshole. All right. So, in Cool World, what ends up happening is there's like a whole alternative world where it's nothing but toon people. And there's like a rabbit who's trying to like they're basically playing dice with like a street gang, right? And what ends up happening is the rabbit's placing all their bets on a roll. And she's like obsessed with the idea that she won because one of the gang members, he just like stomps the ground and the dice like flip up and they're no longer what she rolled. And it's like, snake eyes, you lose. Now pay up before your insides become your outsides. Because he's got like really long claws. And so what happens is like this rabbit, it looks cute, innocent, probably from a children's show. But she develops like a fucked up like face when she's like in the police department because the cop on duty, he's just kind of like leaning on the table, not really giving a shit. And she eventually grabs him to get his attention, is like going all psycho. And it's that point where all the police like go out there and start like chasing them down. So what I'm trying to say is that most rabbits, at least back then in the fandom, I felt like that was a good euphemism for their actual mode of character. They appear all cutesy, fun, loving, and beautiful and attractive on the outside, but they're completely psychotic on the inside. So the TLDR is never stick your dick in crazy, especially rabbits, all right? You can't trust them. I hope Austin Cuny's not watching this.
Oh my God.
I mean, like, what are some other furry stereotypes that you guys can bring up? Because, like, there's a billion of them.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, for whatever reason, you got, like, the big cat kind of stereotype where it's like, oh, yeah, they appear to be all, muscular and tough on the outside, but they're all bottoms for whatever reason. I don't know. That was a weird one going around.
Yeah. Ooh.
Of course. Let's see.
I forgot to tell you guys, there was another hot take. So, yeah, okay. So I consider a hot take to be something that gets ratioed because the person that says it is so oblivious or just not... They're so oblivious and tone deaf to what they're talking about, right? And it's at that point they elicit it's like sharks in the water or like wolves that smell the scent of blood. They go after them all piss and vinegar and they have to tear them to shreds because their opinion is stupid. Fursuits. The guy was basically complaining about how much fursuits cost, and it's just like, wow, furry fandom, you really need to get your act together. First you're all about eat the rich, but then you're like charging an arm and a leg for artwork and fursuits. Why don't you decide which one and pick? And he didn't seem to understand that eat the rich is usually aimed towards corporations that are making like billions of dollars over what they need, versus the humble fursuit maker that's just trying to make a living on their craft. And he didn't seem to get it. And the worst thing about him... Oh. Uh-oh.
What? What happened?
My right leg seceded from the union.
Damn.
Yeah, I need better trackers.
You gotta teach it who's boss, bro.
Oh, don't worry. Christmas is coming up. I'm going to be able to buy a new one. Maybe. All right, there we go. Problem solved. I didn't set my batteries up before I started this whole thing because I wasn't sure how long we were going to go for, but, You know, they say three's a crowd. We've actually been doing a pretty good job. I wish CJ was here to be a part of this, but he'll have a chance next time. All right. No, so like he actually, what's ironic is that he actually drove like a really expensive car. There were a lot of things about him that contradicted him as being like one of the downtrodden of the furry fandom, you know? Like he's complaining about how expensive things are, but the ironic thing is that he can probably afford them versus most of the other people that were like complaining about the price of like basic goods and services to survive. And I don't know, I might actually make a video about that. And the other thing that I've noticed making a noise is artificial intelligence affecting artwork. There's a growing movement. Yeah, there's a growing movement of people that they're kind of like Luddites. They hate artificial intelligence. They want to smash like whatever people are feeding artwork into. Artists are coming out in droves and saying, excuse me, but I do not consent to you feeding my artwork into this machine, okay? I don't accept that. And if I find out that this is traced back, you're going to... And they just go on this long tirades. And I sympathize and I empathize with the artists. However, here's the thing. There's a lot of white knights and dick riders that jumped onto this because the implication is that the prospect of artificial intelligence could potentially ruin the furry economy, which is built on fursuits, merch, and artwork, among other things. And I get it. Like, being a creative, I get it. But, like, any artificial intelligence worth their salt is going to need input. Good data means, like, good data input means good, like, results, presumably.
Yeah.
So it's going to need a lot of material to study. I kind of want to experiment with one, to be honest with you, because, like, what if you make some bastardization of like a style, like two highly contradicting styles, one like a cutesy anime type, one an ugly American type, like stereotypical American toon type. Like, you know, the possibilities are endless. So what you have are people that have access to an artificial intelligence program, and what they do is they will occasionally release an image to piss people off that are sensitive to that sort of thing. And they do it knowingly. Like, it's not like they're just saying, hey, here you go, everybody. Look at what my artificial intelligence machine made. It's like they want to destroy this hegemony of artists and their, like, fans with this artificially intelligence made art. And it's one thing if you just, like, you know, feed something to an AI and you get a result and you post online and you're like, wow, check out how weird this is. But it's another thing entirely when you knowingly are, like, pushing for this, knowing that it's going to piss people off, because that's what some people have been doing. And then they get attacked. Well, they get attacked, and they're like, wow, I was just posting what I got from my AI machine. No need for you all to be assholes. And it's like, I would say that both parties are wrong, but I would say that he's, like, wrong more because he's the one that started the whole thing. You know, he just got a comeuppance from the whole community. That's not really, like, you just existing and people attacking you. That's, you did something to garner, like, a reaction. That's what I've been seeing routinely over and over and over again, and it's like come on, man. Wait a minute. Someone mentioned DeviantArt. DeviantArt scanned everyone's art, then after the fact V-loaded art. Like, oh. I didn't even check out DeviantArt, to be honest with you, for a long time. And, you know, DeviantArt scanned everyone's art, then after the fact, a lot of artists to opt out. Huh. Imagine if Fur Affinity did that. Just imagine.
Oh my god.
Like, it would be like a civil war here in the furry fandom. Like, Dragoneer would not hear the end of it. Granted, okay, so this is where it gets a little controversial. Do you guys know who Zooptune is, or Zoop Wolf, or anything like that? Master Zoop?
I don't think I do.
He is. He's that conservative gay hippie that I told you about. That I kind of want to talk to him. I just want to talk to him. Just to, strike up a conversation. See how he reacts, right? What's the worst that can happen? I was waiting for Maxwell to say famous last words. All right, Zoop, he drew a comic a while back where there's like a little kid, and the little kid's like, wow, I want to be a furry, but like there's no spaces for kids here. And there's like a bunny in like a bondage suit who's just looking at the kid. He's like, tough luck, kid. Like I could probably pull up. I can probably pull it up. No. The bunny has no sexual interest in the kid. He's just explaining to the kid why there's no like spaces for the kid here. He's basically explaining like, yeah, there's like really no spaces for you because everyone has this, that, and the other. And it was just, oh God, not Ken Penders again. You guys need to look what he looks like. Yeah, I left this search up. Oh my God. Okay, this is very off topic, but I want to show you guys this. No. No. So
it's gonna happen.
Yeah. So supposedly this is like Ken Penders-esque art. Tell me what that looks like just at a glance, and I'm gonna show the dear audience here in a second. Here you guys, look at that. You're gonna love it. Yeah, that
You
can.
know what it actually reminds me of? You want me to be honest? There was a short, or an animated short from Game Grumps.
Yeah.
And it was about Shadow and Sonic.
Oh no.
And, nice little short, you gotta see it. But basically, Shadow's like, or Sonic's like, oh, I see your cock is as big as mine.
Oh no, I remember that.
Oh my God.
God damn.
And then, of course, Shadow gets hit from Sonic, and so he goes spinning and hits a wall. And then he's like, haha, Shadow, today I'm going to be on top. And then
Jesus Christ.
Thoughts, and he's like, joke's on you, Sonic. I'm a power bottom.
I remember that. That art style looks kind of fucked. I don't know about you guys. Like it's like it's Uncanny Valley.
Like, yeah,
You make me sad.
It's like
good.
They took Sonic and like,
again.
Yeah,
puppets.
That's what. I like it. Beautiful, short, and elegant. They just killed him. That's
beautiful, short, and elegant.
I'm trying to put too much into this because.
I want to go way too deep. I want to go far away.
Oh,
I don't want to be here anymore.
Don't worry, we're gonna end this soon.
This like trail is Wonderland without the wonder. That's like that's what that is. Oh my God.
Bro, you make me feel so weird. I feel like changing my identity.
You feel like changing your identity? Well, you know what? I mentioned that passively. Have you noticed that? Okay, so I've been officially canceled like 3 times, I would consider. And
Really?
yeah. And I like first time I deserved it. Second time, Maxwell, you remember very distinctively what that was all about. For like the film project. Yeah, the film project. I was effectively canceled. Nobody in VR chat would work with me. That was the whole like intention of various art, like I would say actors in quotes, which is really just translates to a mishmash of a lot of diamonds in the rough. Honestly, if they had a better like attitude about acting, they would be like they'd be well on their way to being full-fledged actors. The problem is people, not only was this a transitionary period of change, but this was also a situation of, like, you know, in a moment, I have to fluctuate from being, like, one of the fellas to being the captain of a ship. The ship crashed, by the way, into the coral reef and is at the bottom of the sea. But like Captain Black Jack Sparrow, I survived, and I walked onto the docks, and I said, well, here's the registry for my ship, but it's at the bottom of the lake. I'm going to start over. And I brought Maxwell with me. All right. The whole point is, what I've noticed is that various furries out there, if their reputation is so shot, I guess it depends on what you're guilty of, but their solution is to just change their identity, adopt a new persona, and blend right back into the furry society. And it's only a problem when people recognize who they are based on their voice or this or that. So, like, do you guys remember anybody that you suspect did that, maybe?
Let's see.
Rainforest Wolf, I know for a fact.
I mean, was it?
Rainforest Wolf is no longer Rainforest Wolf. They're now Virgo
Rainforest
Wolf
Wolf,
or
yeah.
whatever.
Okay. I wouldn't be, because, like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm willing to bet he probably did. Even though I didn't really know for a fact if they did, because I remember last time I saw them it was probably at least a good couple of years ago plus. So,
Who?
but yeah. Huh?
Who?
The person you're just talking about.
Rainforest Wolf.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought you were going to tell us a story about somebody else. Somebody entirely different.
No, but I've had run-ins with them before, and honestly, like, when they disappeared for a bit, I wasn't sure if they actually did disappear or if they just kind of reinvented themselves and come back anew.
Well, according to Maxwell and his stories from Second Life, he hasn't changed in over... It's got to be over 10 years.
Over, yeah.
Damn.
Imagine being, like, the same exact person you were 10 years ago today. No change. No development. No fixation on things. No new hobbies. No, like, knowledge or, like, you know, improvement in your life.
Zero self-improvement, still shallow as can be. You know, it's impressive. You know, like, talk about dedication to the bit. Jesus.
It's worse than that. From what I remember, they were bugging people, and, like, it would just be a couple days, and it's like, hey, I don't know where this is coming from, but, Artasia, I think I'm starting to get feelings for you. Can we fuck now? 2 days of interaction. Discord.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one of my...
Oh, it's even quicker. It was even quicker on SL. He would go through people like toilet paper. And then also complain he was alone in every single group on SL.
All the single furries, all the single furries, all the single furries. I never actually watched that music video from start to finish. Like, I know what it is. I've seen, like...
I turn away.
Exactly. Well, so here's what happened.
Hurts my soul.
I treated that, like, that music video like I treated the Super Mario Brothers movie. I remember I told myself, hey, I'm going to get some snacks. I'm going to get, like, a big 2-liter bottle of soda that I'm going to just, like, dip occasionally to wet my whistle. And I'm going to watch this fucking Super Mario Brothers movie. I sit down, and I don't get, like, 10 seconds in, because Mario's basically saying, you know, some people say that dinosaurs rule the world, but that was a long time ago. Click. Nope. When I heard dinosaurs and stuff, and, like, he's just giving a premise to the movie, I'm just like, fuck that. I ain't watching that crap. I drew something else. Oh. All right. We've been at this for like 3 hours and 13 minutes. You want to push it to an even 3:30, or you want to cut this out now? What do you think? It's like 15 minutes from now.
I got nothing really, so...
All right. So one thing I wanted to mention, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, Arctasia, Maxwell too. What would you consider to be the absolute state of the furry fandom right now? Like, just given everything that you've experienced across your entire life, and compare that to today. Like, what you bear witness to here on Twitter, on social media, what have you. Because now you have plenty of things to compare it to, which maybe back then you didn't have it, like, that much. Go ahead.
Horny and thirsty as fuck.
Hell yeah!
Well, here's the interesting thing. There's clearly two fronts at play.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the one that tends to make the most prominent appearance of itself is the folks that are more in it for the more adult-oriented aspects. Because there are definitely a group of people out there that are in it for the more wholesome reasons. But
Definitely.
obviously, their voice isn't as loud because who cares? I mean, that's kind of the reality of it. It's like, oh yeah, that's nice. I'm gonna continue watching this porn or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, realistically, that extends even beyond the fandom. I mean, sex sells at the end of the day, and it obviously garners the most attention, and it really plays to people's emotions.
Definitely.
In pretty manipulative ways at times. So, naturally, it's going to be a thing that exists globally, regardless what fandom you're in. It's just in this one, it just tends to have a very loud voice for whatever reason. But yeah, I mean, certainly it had its aspects of that during my beginning times in it, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't take long to see it, like, especially just at MFF, like this past weekend, especially when it gets later at night, you'd see all sorts of, like, interesting attire that obviously garner to a specific theme, which is something adult-oriented. Now, the
Oh
interesting, would
no.
you,
No, it's just
the interest,
I'm thinking about my experiences at MFF years ago, and
uh-huh,
people would make like issue of. For me, I wasn't bothered because it's like as long as you do it after normal hours when
mm-hmm,
kids are expected to be out in the public,
mm-hmm,
then it shouldn't affect
yep,
too many people, right? But
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
oh, look at that picture I just sent you, by the way.
Yeah, it was just,
All right. Let's do some role play. Maxwell, you got a pretty good kid's voice. Why don't you act like the child? And I'll be the okay.
No.
Fine. I'll act like the child. Arctasia, get ready to like read me off, okay? Like give me a second.
all right.
Give me a second. I'm going to change avatars. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
There. And it's just like am I on the ground? I am on the ground. I'm a minor and I want a furry community. Wait. I'm a minor and I want the furry community to be a little more family friendly. Can I have a safe place to view and share art that isn't porn?
Tough luck, kid. Furry community was built on sex and deviation ever since the beginning during the 1980s. Have fun trying to avoid being groomed by your beloved peers. A solid majority of sites like Furaffinity are run by literal pedophiles and zoophiles. Almost every convention you visit will be staffed by them. If a furry ever tell you that it's only a small percentage, they're full of shit, period. The proof is in the pudding. It's not uncommon for a furry to be canceled over allegations of grooming, child pornography, and bestiality. Your favorite idol will be guilty of something, guaranteed. Kara the Wolf only scrapes the surface. And if you say anything about it, you will be smeared to protect the image of the community.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ooh. By the way,
So true, it hurts.
oh no, definitely. And like the problem with Zoop, like I like Zoop, but I like his art. I don't like him as a person because his opinions are very abrasive. You need to check him out sometime, but he does have a good knack for like looking into the heart of a problem, and that was like the image that I found about him. But a lot of people don't like him for some reason. Granted, he's abrasive, so I already told you that bit. And I used to think he had an
Right.
FBI warning that was like warning others about him. It literally says, "Warning: This individual is recognized by the FBI as a furry. Like we believe he's a furry." It's like a newsletter to something. We don't know, but we suspect him of being a furry. Like it's not a guaranteed fact. Um, I don't know. So like
Bruh.
that comic though, it kind of hits close to home because people keep freaking out about, oh my god, like, you know, there's groomers everywhere and pedophiles, where do they all come from? And it's like they were always here is the dark thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the
Right.
dark implication of all things. It's just that I don't know if it was a situation of not enough people became reactive. And if I told people like that, it's like, excuse me, but you're spreading drama. And it's like, is it better to ignore the elephant in the room to preserve
Mm-hmm.
the illusion that everything is just fine? Or is it better to like, be a whistleblower? And people like get
No one wants to bite the bullet is the problem.
well, okay, so this is the reason I showed you guys the comic. The reason I showed you all the comic is because Dragoneer, for instance, in his administration on Fur Affinity, these are rumors, hearsay. There are some definite tidbits of information that are legitimately true. Like, for instance, Dragoneer did grope a girl's breast and pressured her not to like make a big noise about that. Staff has been known to go through like notes on the website against like for no real good like reason or purpose. About the only thing that like Dragoneer has ever done that was like visibly, by my estimation, to be like throwing somebody out that was truly predator was throwing out Growly, banning them. He made a big public spectacle about it, where he's just like, sometimes you gotta ban a friend. I feel like absolute shit for it. I hate myself for it, and blah 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 blah. And it's just like, dude, the guy was like fucking a minor, knowingly, and this is a guy who dresses up in like a Growly fursuit. He looks like a knockoff Growly Five Nights at Freddy's fuck wannabe. He doesn't clean his suit is the problem. That's one of the problems. See, the sad part is there are attractive Growlies like running around. He's not one of them, unfortunately, or fortunately, I should say. Because if he was, well, his success rate would be higher. But what pisses me off about Growly is that he keeps trying to. He thinks that his giving back to society is him being a con staff at like a convention where minors are present, or people that he shouldn't be near in any degree. Okay, but remember, his volunteer service is being a con staff at furry conventions specifically. That's the only way he can give back to society. Giving back to the same fandom that he was part of. He's a convicted sex offender, by the way. Daniel Lamas. So his name is far and wide. Here's what kills me, though. I've seen him at furry conventions after the crime had happened, but there was no concerted effort to throw him out. And this is all from memory, right? I even have camera like Kira the Wolf on camera before the whole debacle happened. He was allowed to just walk around in public where kids were, where minors were, and it wasn't until a sizable denomination of people pressured the convention's staff to throw him out did like actual retribution happen against him, And it's like some people actually took Growly's side. They're just like, hey, it really is shitty to like, have your criminal record be dispensed online like that. And it's like, for me, it depends on the crime. If it's a crime of like sex and stuff like that, like you fucked a dog or you fucked like a person that was underage, then you probably shouldn't be allowed to attend furry conventions and shit like that, you know? Um, I don't like, it's never about murderers or like drug dealers or anything like that. It's almost always pedophiles or zoophiles. It always breaks down in either both categories or one and the same. Hey, you notice that? Like all these videos I cover, I talk about all these shitty people. So anyway, what time we getting to be? We got about, let me pull this closer. We got 6 minutes. Closing thoughts, fella? You got any for me?
I don't.
Arctasia?
Yeah, it's been great to kind of start these back up again and see what sort of interesting topics and angles of the fandom that we can get ourselves into and just kind of have a discussion about and see where it takes us and what sort of perspectives we can get from it. So yeah, I hope we can get to doing these with a bit more frequency and kind of make it more of a regular thing rather than like a yearly thing.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, shit was going on. I mean, Maxwell was in hibernation.
Mm-hmm.
He was in hyperspace, coming back home from fighting the war out there in the stars. Me, I was just, the grind was real. I'm just trying to become a full-fledged YouTuber. But no, in all seriousness, the basic schedule that we're thinking about doing is once a month, the first Saturday of every month, or whenever we feel like it, whenever there's enough to talk about. There's plenty to talk about. It's just that this is kind of a commitment, like, 3 hours, 30 minutes. I think 3 hours and 30 minutes is probably a good ratio for right now. But Maxwell, Arctasia, thank you so much for joining me here tonight. I wish CJ was here, but I guess, God took him early. God works in mysterious ways, right? Bless you. Sorry, I still can't get over the whole like Peace Wolf Christian furry thing, and you guys are like asking me, it's like, well, what is there any truth to that? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And it's like that's a bad sign right there.
I don't know. Sometimes I think people kind of put it on as a facade,
Oh no, it's okay.
Or they think that's how they are, but in reality, it's there's.
No, dude.
And that's the thing too. Like, it's all about the individual takes. Like, people can claim to be this or that, but it's like at the end of the day, like, you are yourself, your own person, and you're gonna have your own thing. Like, just because you have these labels about you doesn't mean that you are going to be necessarily perceived as that, like that mold, basically, that archetype. So
the only spirituality I need is to ask myself, what would Jesus do? So if you're at a party and somebody offers you some hard drugs, I want to hear a lot of do's, not a lot of don'ts. Nah, kid. All right. Oh, guys, real quick. This actually happened on VR chat, and I still have the clip somewhere. If I remember it by the time I edit this video, what happens is like I'm recording, and the only reason I was recording in the first place is because there's like 40 to 50 people, and I was more impressed that VR chat wasn't chugging. That's like a truly impressive feat. A massive ballroom with like 50 to 60 people in there. In high FPS, that's virtually unheard of. So I go to the stage, and really it just breaks down into Jesus is like performing magic on stage, and I'm like, "Hey Jesus, I got a question," and Jesus is like, "I got an answer." It's like, "Does Jesus love furries?" And he just kind of looks at me for a bit, and he starts backing away, and there's like a little bush at the middle of the like set against the wall at the back of the stage, but he's just like hiding behind the bush and like waving me off, and I'm just like, oh, Oh, Jesus does not love furries at all.
And we circled the wagons. There you go. It started with Jesus and we end. Jesus.
Yep.
Good job, Joe. You did it again.
Yeah.
Full
Jesus
Genesis.
furry.
Jesus was a furry. I am in complete and utter agreement of that.
Logically speaking of dictionary terms. Furry.
So we got 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Go ahead, guys. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
I got none. You?
All right.
Touché.
I hope you all enjoyed the show tonight. Till next time, guys, take care and peace. I hope you all have a better one.
Oh, bye-bye.
Good night.
Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite.
Don't let the bed bugs bite. Oh.